Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Looks like we are waiting for a person or two. Hey, Hassan, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, sir. I didn't get a chance to see the yesterday's recording.
Okay, that's
Once
fine.
I'm,
Did one of you message me? I'm getting invalid password.
yeah, it was me.
It
और
was
फिर
a-
क्या हुआ कि and I tried again and again and delete the Zoom and the reprogram it came up. It works now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So let's see. All right. Any questions from yesterday's class for the people who were in the class? All right. We can start the new topic today. The main topic for today is the testing thing. In testing phase, we play an important role. Our role is important because not that we will do testing there that much. It's mostly because we want to make sure things are going to go live after the testing phase into production. So quality is very important, and we want to make sure that nothing is breaking in the test environment. So usually, the good idea is always whenever it's in testing phase, right? We do as much testing as possible from our side. Although there is no official sword on you that you have to complete this task, there is very high level testing that you have to do from your side to make sure that everything looks good. But it's a good idea to go into little to go a little deeper in the requirements and make sure everything is looking good for that. So I'll share some information with you all. And again, whatever we are going to learn in the class today, 95% of the things that we are going to learn in the class today, chances are very, very high that you will just come across that environment, but you will never do that kind of work. But this is still important for your knowledge, so that you can have a conversation with people. When someone talks about testing, you know what they're talking about, right? And you don't get surprised. So let me open our testing doc and go from there. All right, we can get started. Let's see if we have Shrey, so that he may not join today because he's in Houston, and we just drop a note to Abdul once. And Shazia is also missing, right? Okay. I think we can probably dive into the testing topic today now. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I was trying to do something different. आज class हिंदी में लेना है. It's a lot of jargons I'm going to use, a lot of theory. I think if I talk in Hindi, it might be easier for you guys to understand this and remember it. More important, remembering.
Whatever you feel works. It's fine.
Okay, let's start with in Hindi, like for first 5 minutes. And if you guys feel you are being lost, then we can do the. We'll go back to the English. I am a person, at least when I speak in Hindi about something, I remember that more well than when I'm speaking things in English. I just thought to use as an idea, but of course, no pressure to go on that way if you guys feel the other way around.
I hope you're not going to use bunkas and lafda in Hindi. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not. But sometimes it's fun to add those words. That's where the class becomes more interesting and it's easier to learn things. Right? And I want to take this. Go ahead. Sandhya.
Go ahead. So in the testing phase, the Scrum Master is being the charge?
No, tester team, QA, quality analyst. Quality analyst and quality analyst lead. Scrum Master is just going to make sure that Scrum Master's role is always one role, to make sure that things gets delivered in time.
Okay.
So there are several different type of testings there and we're going to talk about them. ठीक है, तो चलो शुरू करते हैं. I think Shaiza just messaged me that she's joining in a minute. Or
so if it is not our role, then I mean, how is it important to us?
It is not our role, but your life is at stake. Is that important?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just assume, right, that you want to do renovation in your house, right? Although you're not going to do any renovation, you're going to hire contractors. Can you just give them the key and leave the house on them?
No.
Why?
You need to know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Because it's your project.
How would you know what they're doing?
You have to supervise them.
What would you supervise on? Based on what?
Check how are they performing their duties at every level? What are they doing?
Yes, and validating against the high level agreement that you guys had, right? This is what I wanted, right?
Yes.
So that's exactly what's going to happen in testing phase.
And that's what the BA does.
That's what the BA does.
So they go back and forth with the QA team and just for the final product.
Yes, because this is the last step before the release.
Okay.
If something messes up here, either it's going to push your timeline or customer is going to impact really, really bad and your product will be a poor product.
Got it.
So for example, if you guys remember, ये हुआ था, I think 1.5 या 2 साल पहले, iPhone ने जब उसका नया, I think I forgot the name of that GPS company. They merged with a new GPS company, and जब भी लोग अगर GPS में जाते थे, उसका एड्रेस डालते थे, so sometimes it was giving you wrong directions. So there was an ocean in front of me and it was telling me to go straight. So iPhone received a very, very poor feedback on that GPS, and they had to immediately make some updates and change the map provider and things like that. Had that been tested well, it would have never come across that way, right? Because the reputation is at stake. When something goes wrong, especially for financial company, if something goes wrong, you're dealing in dollars and you're dealing in money. If one thing goes wrong, you're gone. People can sue you. And moreover, them suing you, it's like your reputation is at stake. And at the same time, customers will get some poor experience and they will recognize you for that forever, which is not a good idea. Right? So, start karte. So testing karne ke liye, we have talked a lot of times in our class that development team, when they're ready for coding, when they're ready with their code, they put their code, they send their code to the QA environment. So first thing that you want to know about QA is how many types of environment we have in the company. अगर आप लोग कोई इमिग्रेशन फॉर्म भर रहे हो, वो इमिग्रेशन फॉर्म इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है कि यू जस्ट हैव वन कॉपी, ओके, जस्ट वन कॉपी ऑफ दैट इमिग्रेशन फॉर्म. सो और उसमें अगर कुछ गलती कर दी तो तुम्हारा इमिग्रेशन स्टेटस कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाएगा. सो अगर तुम्हारे पास अगर एक ही ऑप्शन है कि उस फॉर्म को अच्छे से भरना है, व्हाट स्टेप्स विल यू टेक?
Make a photocopy of the original.
Okay, make a photocopy. What else?
And then fill it so that in case there is something that you're not following, at least you have a photocopy, you know.
Yep.
And make sure that you read it perfectly, like to the T. Make sure you understand what they're asking from you to put it on the form as well.
Okay. So
That is one thing. And also I was thinking of, you need to get an approval, like make sure you show it to somebody. If you have any doubts, okay, this is something that I'm not clear. So you'll check with somebody, you know, maybe a higher authority, or maybe calling, you know, somebody at, you know, the immigration embassy or whatever.
All right. What else? You can use pencil to write the form first, then erase it, and then write over it. You can probably just take a piece of a paper and go in that same order and start writing there, correct?
Yes.
So bottom line is that you will not touch that form unless you are 100% sure.
Yes.
Correct? So if you are so cautious about the immigration form, just imagine how cautious company is going to be when they know that there are millions of users using their application. Valid concern? Right? So इस कंसर्न को दूर करने के लिए क्या करते हैं ये लोग कि जो कोड लिखते हैं ना, जो ये प्रोडक्शन एनवायरनमेंट है, सो इसमें तुम कुछ भी चेंजेस करोगे तो एक्चुअल यूजर्स यूज कर सकते हैं उसको. एक्चुअल यूजर्स देखेगा उनको कि क्या चेंज करा है तुमने. ओके, सो यहाँ पे तुम कुछ भी चेंज नहीं करते अनलेस एंड अनटिल यू आर 200% श्योर दैट थिंग्स आर वर्किंग रियली रियली गुड. तो ये एक एनवायरनमेंट है, प्रोडक्शन एनवायरनमेंट. स्टार्टिंग साइकिल ऐसे होती है कि जब डेवलपमेंट टीम कोड लिखती है, वो लोग क्या करते हैं, यहाँ पे कोड लिखने के बाद इसको मूव करेंगे यहाँ पे क्यूए टेस्ट और सैंडबॉक्स एनवायरनमेंट में. सो कंपनी में नाम इनके इस तरह से दिए गए, डेव एनवायरनमेंट, इसको 3 अलग नाम दिए, क्यूए, टेस्ट और सैंडबॉक्स. व्हेन दे से एनी वर्ड फ्रॉम दिस, यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड के ये टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं ये लोग. इसकी एक्सेस खाली क्यूए के पास होती है. अब जो एक्चुअल कस्टमर्स होते हैं उनको ये दिखेगा नहीं. ओके, ओनली योर टीम हैज एक्सेस टू दिस एनवायरनमेंट, नोबडी एल्स कैन सी दैट. ये स्टेजिंग है. Staging is like right before you go to production, you want to make sure you do one last round of testing and then go to the production. So ये staging environment होता है. तो ये कभी होता है, कभी नहीं होता. Pre-prod is another environment. Again, some companies have 1, 2, and 3, which is dev, QA, and prod. Some companies will have 4 from this. Some companies will have all 5 from this. It depends on the company and the sensitivity of their information and on their application. Just to make sure that there is nothing wrong in that. Okay, so ये सब दूसरे अलग अलग steps है और हर एक environment में अलग अलग काम होता है यहाँ पे. So I'll just walk you through what work happens in which environment and what you need to be aware about. ठीक है? But fair idea is, hey, we need to have a Xerox copy of production code so that if something goes wrong, we are not affecting production code directly. We are affecting this environment, and this can be done. We can do a lot more things here to make sure that we go back to the previous code that we had. It's more like a Google Drive link, right? If you're working on a Google Drive on a document on a Google Drive with your friends, you first make sure that all thing looks good. Then that information needs to go to your someone elderly. So you make sure everything looks good. It goes to your elderly, which is where they will check everything looks good. And now that elderly person is going to check with some official guy just to make sure that, hey, I have taken a look at it, but this is a very important application. I want to make sure nothing is wrong. So that official person will look into this. And now you think, okay, everything looks good, just start putting things in the production. So it's just a different steps that you have to go through before you put anything in production. You cannot put anything in production before going through this cycle. So when in waterfall, when we say that development team will start developing, they start developing code in this environment. This is a server link. Just consider this as 3 different servers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different servers, right? Servers or 5 different locations or 5 different folders in your laptop. So when development team is writing their code, they're going to write in dev environment. When QA team is testing, they are testing it in QA environment. They will not perform testing in dev environment. The reason is क्योंकि डेवलपमेंट वाले कुछ ना कुछ काम करते रहते हैं, तो वो कभी भी स्टेबल नहीं होता. कभी भी बग रेस करेंगे तो बोलेंगे अरे आई एम वर्किंग ऑन इट. तो कभी भी ये स्टेबल एनवायरनमेंट नहीं होता. बट वो जो क्यूए होता है वो स्टेबल एनवायरनमेंट होता है. तो जब भी ये लोग कोड लिखेंगे अपना, 10 लोगों ने कोड लिखा हुआ, 10 लोग अपना कोड एक साथ डालेंगे यहाँ पे क्यूए में, तो पूरी फंक्शनलिटी रेडी हो गई. जैसे कि तुम अगर याद करोगे, हमने यूजर स्टोरीज लिखी थी. यूजर स्टोरीज बहुत छोटी छोटी होती है, स्मॉल यूजर स्टोरीज, राइट. उसमें क्या होता है कि you can test for user story, but you cannot test end-to-end functionality because you're just working on a small piece at the same time. So if 5 people are working on 5 different user stories, the goal is to push those 5 stories into production at one day. So पहले हम क्या करेंगे, वो 5 स्टोरी को मिक्स करेंगे यहाँ पे उसका कोड और QA में डाल देंगे उसको, QA एनवायरनमेंट में, so that कि QA की टीम उसको अच्छे से पूरा पढ़ सके, उसको टेस्टिंग कर सके और उसका अप्रूवल दे सके. तो ये प्रोसेस होता है कंपनी में, सही है. और ये प्रोसेस तुम देखोगे एवरी डे इट हैपेंस कपल ऑफ टाइम्स. एक डेवलपर ने कुछ नया कोड लिखा है, वो नया कोड पुश कर रहा है क्यूए में, तो तुमको खाली ईमेल्स आएंगे. जब ईमेल्स आएंगे तुमको समझ जाना चाहिए कि कुछ नहीं कर रहा है डेवलपर ने, खाली अपना कोड उसका कंप्लीट हो गया था तो उसने क्यूए में डाल दिया, क्योंकि क्यूए को अपनी टेस्टिंग खत्म कर दी ना स्टोरी के लिए. जो भी कोड डेवलपर लिखेगा उसकी टेस्टिंग होनी ही चाहिए. अगर नहीं हुई तो तुम वो कोड को डाल नहीं सकते प्रोडक्शन में. और वो टेस्टिंग कौन करेगा? क्यूए. ओके, तो ये बैक एंड फोर्थ एवरी डे 3-4 बार होती रहती है. कोई कंपनी में तो ये मतलब 10-15 बार होता है एक ही टीम के अंदर. इफ देयर इज अ बिग टीम, इट हैपेंस मल्टीपल टाइम्स. आर यू फॉलोइंग सो फार?
So the basic thing that you're trying to explain is the developer makes a code and the QA does the testing for all the codes that are made.
Yes.
Okay, this is one line we can remember. It's easy.
That's correct. And this is development phase in waterfall, and this is quality phase in waterfall. So remember, in waterfall we had initial phase, requirement gathering phase, design phase, development, testing, and implementation. Correct? So everything that happens in dev environment, that's development phase for that project. Everything that happens in QA environment, that's all QA testing. That's a testing phase. And everything that you're going to put in production here, that's the production launch implementation. So those 3 steps of waterfall are happens in these 3 different environments: dev, QA, and prod. ठीक है? और अगेन इसको खाली इतना जेरोक्स कॉपी एकदम इजी याद रखने के लिए, प्रोडक्शन का 4 जेरोक्स कॉपी कर दिया है. एक जेरोक्स कॉपी यूज कर रहा है डेवलपमेंट टीम, एक जेरोक्स कॉपी यूज कर रहा है क्यूए टीम. जब ये सब सही लगेगा, उसके बाद वी कैन यूज एडिशनल 2 जेरोक्स कॉपीज just to make sure we are still good, and then flip the switch in production. बस ये खाली इतना ही है, इसमें कुछ नहीं है और.
So this is a communication between the QA and the developer. Where do we come in?
I'll let you know. I first want to make sure you guys understand the environments.
I understood the first 2, the developer and the QA, but the staging is still not clear.
I'm going to come there.
Okay.
Okay. So
sorry, James, what is NFRs?
I'm going to cover that today in the class.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And I can possibly cover, I had a plan to cover this after testing, but I can cover it right here since we're talking about the testing. So development. So when you write requirement gathering, when you write requirements in BRD or in FRD or user stories, when you do those things, right? उसके बाद क्या होता है, डिजाइनर और आर्किटेक्ट एक ब्लूप्रिंट बनाते हैं पूरे सॉफ्टवेयर का. एक डिजाइनर क्या करेगा, उसका पूरा एक अच्छा सा एक हाई क्वालिटी इमेज बना देगा, राइट, उस पेज का. उस हाई क्वालिटी इमेज बनाने के बाद उसका जो डेव लीड क्या करेगा? डेव लीड को खाली एक ही काम करना है. डेव लीड इज गोइंग टू क्रिएट द आर्किटेक्चर लाइक अ ब्लूप्रिंट कि हर सॉफ्टवेयर में कौन सी चीज कहाँ से आनी चाहिए, कौन सी चीज कहाँ पे जानी चाहिए. डेव लीड का काम वही है. तो वो तो अपना काम कर लेंगे, तब जाके ये काम शुरू होता है, ये वाला. डेवलपमेंट कैन राइट कोड ओनली आफ्टर दैट. तो वो क्या करेंगे? तुम्हारा जो डिजाइनर ने जो हाई क्वालिटी इमेज बनाया ना, उसको लेंगे और उसके जैसा पेज बनाएंगे और उसको बैक एंड में प्लग करेंगे. जैसे कि बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका में तुम फॉर्म भर रहे हो, फर्स्ट नेम, लास्ट नेम, ईमेल आईडी, ये जाके कहीं पे स्टोर हो रहा है, राइट? कंपनी को पता है तुम्हारी इन्फॉर्मेशन कहीं जाके स्टोर हो रही है, तुम्हारी इन्फॉर्मेशन. तो जो पाइपिंग करना पड़ता है ना, फ्रंट एंड से इन्फॉर्मेशन कैसे जाएगी पीछे, उसका काम भी डेवलपमेंट टीम को ही करना पड़ता है. तो डेवलपमेंट टीम दो काम करेगी, एक तो तुम्हारा पेज बनाएगी और दूसरा उसको उस पेज पे जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन हो रही है उसको जाके अपने डेटाबेस में सेव करेगी. आर वी गुड सो फार? बस यही काम है डेवलपमेंट टीम का. बैक टू बैक एवरीडे वही काम करेंगे वो. तो इसमें क्या होता है, इसमें बीए का काम कभी कभी आता है और वो बहुत छोटा सा काम है. देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड सैनिटी टेस्टिंग. ये क्या है पता है क्या? ये यूनिट टेस्टिंग इज डन बाय डेव. So development is a very highly expensive resource. So you don't use their efforts in testing that much. You use their effort to code well, right? पर क्या होता है कि कभी भी ये लोग कुछ भी पुश करेंगे ना क्यूए में, तो क्यूए तुरंत बोलता है कि अरे तुमने ये गलत कर दिया. तो डिप्लॉयमेंट को फिर से भेजेंगे यहाँ से क्यूए से डेव में, बोलेंगे ये गलत चीज है, इसको फिक्स करो. तो ये फिर से फिक्स करेंगे, फिर से भेजेंगे यहाँ पे. तो इस बहुत सारा बैक एंड फोर्थ होता है. तो डेवलपर क्या करता है यूजुअली कि जब भी कुछ भी पुश करेगा क्यूए एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर, उसके पहले क्विक टेस्टिंग कर लेगा कि मैंने जो बनाया वो चल रहा है ना. जस्ट लाइक इन 5 मिनट्स मैंने जो बनाया वो चल रहा है अच्छे से, ओके चल रहा है. अभी यहाँ क्योंकि मैंने जो बनाया तो मेरे मशीन के मेरे लैपटॉप के ऊपर बनाया था, वो चल रहा था अच्छे से. बट अगर 5 डेवलपर और है जिन लोगों ने उनका कोड भी डाला हुआ है यहाँ पे, आई वांट टू मेक श्योर कि उनका कोड और मेरा कोड में कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ना हो. तो मैं फिर से खाली एक बार 5 मिनट टेस्टिंग कर लूंगा क्यूए में डालने के पहले कि एवरीथिंग लुक्स गुड. अगर सब सही लग रहा है तो यहाँ से ये क्या करेगा डेवलपर, इसको पुश कर देगा क्यूए एनवायरनमेंट में. तो क्यूए को नोटिफिकेशन जाएगा कि तुम्हारे लिए ये नई फंक्शनलिटी जो बनाई थी मैंने वो अवेलेबल है अभी, यू कैन स्टार्ट टेस्टिंग. और यहाँ पे बीए का एक छोटा सा रोल है, कभी कभी कर सकता है बीए या कभी कभी क्यूए करता है. डेवलपर्स टेक दिस हेल्प. वो लोग क्या बोलेंगे कि अरे मैंने ये बना तो दिया है, बट बिफोर पुशिंग इट टू क्यूए एनवायरनमेंट तुम एक बार चेक कर लोगे, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि तुमको अगर कुछ लग रहा है कि अगर कोई इमीडिएट बग दिख रहा है तो उसको मैं भी फिक्स कर दूं बिफोर पुटिंग इट इनटू क्यूए एनवायरनमेंट. Because whenever you put something in QA and then developer has to take it back and then fix it, that's a cycle. That cycle is a costly cycle. It takes at least 8 to 10 hours to get that fixed. क्योंकि ये फाइंड करेगा, उसको उसके बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन लिखेगा कि ये बग है, इसको फिक्स करो. डेवलपर के पास जाएगा, उसको प्रायोरिटी देगा, वो फिर से फिक्स करेगा, फिर से टेस्ट करेगा, फिर से इसमें भेजेगा. So it's a cycle that goes through. So every bug that is found in dev is a time saved for QA guys, right? तो बस खाली इतना ही काम करना है. डेवलपर जो कोड लिखा है उसको हमको खाली एक बार चेक कर लेना अच्छे से, खाली कि अरे चल रहा है कि नहीं चल रहा है बराबर. ये क्या करेंगे, फॉर्म अगर बना है, फॉर्म में कुछ बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन डाल दिया और सबमिट पे क्लिक कर दिया तो फॉर्म सबमिट हो गया, ओके एवरीथिंग लुक्स गुड, दैट्स इट. इतनी सिंपल टेस्टिंग करनी है. जैसे कि तुम फॉर्म भरते हो ना कभी किसी का, कोई भी, अगर तुम यू कैन गो ऑन टू द वेबसाइट, ऑन एनी वेबसाइट एंड यू फिल अ फॉर्म फॉर योर नीड्स, राइट? इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट. ऑल यू डू इज दैट, जस्ट एज अ यूजर यू जस्ट सेंड दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन एंड यू आर गुड. तो यहाँ पे बीए का काम कभी कभी होता है, कभी वो लोग क्यूए को बुलाएंगे, कभी किसी और को बुलाएंगे, डिपेंडिंग ऑन हु इज सिटिंग नियर देम. खाली तुमको इतना करना है, वो फॉर्म देखना है, विजुअली अच्छा लग रहा है, सबमिट करके फॉर्म सबमिट हो रहा है, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड, बस. यहाँ पे तुम्हारा और एक काम होगा, डेवलपर तुमको बार बार पूछेगा कि ये रिक्वायरमेंट का मतलब क्या है, तुमने ये काउंट करा है, तुमने ये कैलकुलेट करा है, तुमने ये सोचा है कि नहीं सोचा है. दे विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस. अगर अच्छे डेवलपर्स होंगे तो दे विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस. अगर अच्छे डेवलपर्स नहीं है तो वो पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट तुम्हारा पढ़ेंगे और उसी के ऊपर से बना देंगे. तो तुमको समझ जाना चाहिए कि यहाँ पे कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. अगर ये तुमको क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे तो तुमको सामने से जाके क्वेश्चन पूछना उनको, हे सब सही चल रहा है ना, एनी क्वेश्चंस यू हैव फॉर मी, कैसे मैं तुमको मदद करूं. बस बेसिक भाईचारा, कुछ नहीं करना है यहाँ पे, ओके. बट अगर वो क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे तो क्या होगा कि वो कुछ बना देंगे जो टूटेगा, जो सही नहीं बनाया उन्होंने, क्योंकि उनको पता नहीं है. पढ़ के बंदा रिक्वायरमेंट अच्छे से समझ ही नहीं सकता. When you write a business requirements document and when you send it to someone, उसको पढ़ के कोई अगर अच्छे से बना रहा रिक्वायरमेंट तो अच्छी बात है, पर अगर किसी को क्वेश्चंस नहीं आएंगे उसका मतलब क्या है कि वो बंदा सोच नहीं रहा. वो बंदा ब्लाइंडली डॉक्यूमेंट को फॉलो कर रहा है। अगर कोई बंदा ब्लाइंडली डॉक्यूमेंट को फॉलो कर रहा है तो देयर कुड बी प्रॉब्लम, राइट? जैसे कि कभी किसी ने बोल दिया कि रेड लाइट पे स्टॉप साइन, रेड लाइट है मतलब वहां पे रुकना ही है। अब पुलिस भी तुम्हारे पीछे आ गया तो भी उसको गाड़ी को वहीं पे रोके रखेगा, आगे जाएगा ही नहीं वो। सो रिक्वायरमेंट, राइट? वैसे रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं होती। सो यू नीड टू बी केयरफुल. So there are things which is written in the document, but you don't have to take everything at a face value. So वो तुमको मालूम पड़ेगा, अगर कोई तुमको क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछ रहा तो तुमको जाके सामने से पूछना उनको कि तेरे को ये रिक्वायरमेंट समझ में आई थी ना अच्छे से, मुझे देखा तूने क्या कोड लिखा हुआ है, कैसे चल रहा है, मुझे पेज दिखा कैसे बनाया तूने. Just for curiosity, not to supervise someone, not to give that feeling that I'm supervising you, more of an interest. Hey, 5 दिन हो गए, I heard you were working on this, मुझे दिखाओगे कैसा लग रहा है वो. I'm just curious to see. That's it. और वो दिखाएंगे भी तुमको, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसमें. तो बस तुम्हारा यही काम है यहाँ पे कि तुम खाली उनको सपोर्ट करो और खाली मेक श्योर करो कि तुम्हारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स उनको समझ में आई अच्छे से. और अगर जरूरत पड़े तो खाली फटाफट एक खाली फॉर्म सबमिट कर लो, या जो भी टेस्टिंग करनी है, कैलकुलेटर करना तो कैलकुलेटर पे एक इंफॉर्मेशन डाल के खाली चेक कर लो एंड यू आर गुड टू गो. बस यही काम है तुम्हारा यहाँ पे. एनी क्वेश्चंस इन दिस? सो दिस इज व्हाट यू डू इन डेव एनवायरनमेंट and in dev phase in waterfall, and this is exactly what, let me open the PowerPoint side by side so you would know.
Why is the product owner not involved?
Can someone answer that question?
I think the business analyst or product owner is pretty similar, and it's your responsibility as the analyst to figure out these things and report it to owner. That's what I think. Is that what it is?
Someone else wants to try? Guys, in waterfall we don't have business product owner.
तो जेम्स कंपनी इतना स्ट्रिक्ट वो फॉलो करते हैं कि क्योंकि अगर हाइब्रिड होगा, इफ इट्स फ्रॉम गोइंग फ्रॉम वाटरफॉल टू अजाइल, तो प्रोडक्ट ओनर नहीं होगा.
नहीं, प्रोडक्ट ओनर होगा, पर अभी हम वाटरफॉल की बात कर रहे हैं. अजाइल में भी ये सेम स्टेप्स होते हैं. अजाइल में ये काम प्रोडक्ट ओनर ही करेगा, जो यहाँ पे बीए कर रहा है वो पीओ करेगा, बस उतना ही फर्क है. बट अभी हम वाटरफॉल की बात कर रहे हैं. वाटरफॉल में क्या होता है कि ये डेवलपमेंट फेज है, ये टेस्टिंग फेज है. And I'm putting this side by side so you guys can put together a visual of it. So if you remember, these are the phases we have in waterfall, right? Initial planning, gathering, design, development, testing, and implementation, right? तो ये जो डेवलपमेंट फेज है ना यहाँ पे, ये तुम जो भी काम कर रहे हो, ये वाला, ये काम तुम्हारा इस एनवायरनमेंट के लिए होता है. ये तुम्हारा जो 4 रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है ना, कि केटी सेशन देना है, कि समझाना है उनको कि क्या हो रहा है, ये बीआरडी में क्या लिखा है मैंने, क्या बनाना है उनको. अगर स्कोप हुआ, अगर बोलेगा कह रहे ये नया कुछ चीज आ गई है, तुमको उसको देखना पड़ेगा. स्मोक टेस्टिंग यही वाली बता रहा हूँ मैं यहाँ पे. ये बीए और क्यू वाली जो टेस्टिंग करते हो तुम, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर एवरीथिंग लुक्स गुड एंड रीप्रायोरिटाइज रिक्वायरमेंट्स. अगर कुछ नया आ गया तो उसको देखना, उसको प्रायोरिटी देनी कि नहीं देनी. बस तुम्हारा यही काम है यहाँ पे. तो 3 महीने तक तुम एवरीडे डेवलपमेंट टीम के पास जाओगे और वही डिस्कशन करोगे. And guys, I want you guys to remember, in waterfall we do not have product owner. Product owner and business analyst roles are pretty similar. The only addition is, we have talked about this, right? These are the additional things that product owner does. And we have an extensive document on this, which these things are not being done by business analyst. So any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Nisha.
Okay.
Sorry, Sabni.
So this testing phase that you're telling me, if we are working in a waterfall environment, no matter what, we have to go through this testing phase.
Waterfall or agile, you have to go through these steps.
Okay. Because initially you said that it could be like we will never come across this kind of a situation when we start.
No, I said you will not work you will not perform these activities.
Yes.
But you can very well be in this situation with everyone who is doing this work. Hence, you want to know what is going on.
I mean, isn't that the way the process follows? Like when we give them the BRD, they are going to do the coding. The developers are going to do the coding. So we have to be constantly getting in touch if they need any assistance. Isn't that the way?
Yes, that's what exactly I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
So
but
when you
so
reach out
this
to them, these are the things that you talk with them. These are the 4 things you do with them.
okay. So basically, we are just giving it a name of testing when we are having that conversation between the developer and us.
You're using wrong jargons at wrong places, Sabnit.
Okay.
So we have not even started talking about testing phase yet. We're talking about development phase,
Okay.
right? In development phase, you talk to them, make sure that they understood your requirements, and
Mhm.
whatever they're going to push into testing environment that looks good to you. Only 2 things you want to make sure, right?
Okay.
That is the assistance you are providing as a BA.
Okay.
And you are not doing anything here directly, but you are involved in it, right? Same way. Just remember this carpenter example. Someone is doing something at your home. You will not leave the home on that person,
Yes.
right? It's your reputation at stake. You are the person who wants to make sure that this project gets good quality and this project gets rolled out in time. This is your baby. Once you are a business analyst, this is your baby. Nobody's going to consider this entire project as their baby. Why? Development team is going to work on small things. Like if there are 5 team members, they all have divided their work. They're just going to focus on their work. But for you, entire project is your work, right?
Yes.
अगर तुमने किसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिया हुआ है, वो कंपनी तुम्हारे घर पे 5 रूम है और वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वाले ने क्या करा कि 5 रूम 5 अलग अलग बंदों में बांट दी. तुम ये रूम पे काम करना, तुम ये रूम पे काम करना. अगर अभी कुछ गलत हो गया तो तुम वो बंदा जो उसके अंदर काम कर रहा हो उस रूम के अंदर उसको पकड़ोगे या तुमने जिसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिया उसको पकड़ोगे?
The contractor.
कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, राइट?
Yes.
क्यों? क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ने पूरी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी दी है, तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर हम है.
Okay.
हमारा काम है कि ये चारों फेज में सब कुछ बराबर हो. That is the reason it's a leadership role. We need to drive these people. जैसे जैसे हमारा काम यहाँ पे खत्म हो गया, कंपनी हमको 6 महीने और पगार दे रही है खाली इसीलिए कि ये चारों फेज बराबर एग्जीक्यूट हो.
Okay.
ये हमारा काम है मेन. सही है? इट्स अ प्रीटी शॉर्ट रोल. जो तुम यहाँ कर रहे हो वही यहाँ कर रहे हो, वही यहाँ कर रहे हो और वही यहाँ कर रहे हो. बट देयर आर डिफरेंट वेज टू डू दैट. दैट इज द ओनली डिफरेंस.
Okay.
Anyone else has any other question before I jump to the next topic on the QA environment? Okay, let's talk about the QA environment in that case. तो QA में हमारा काम यही है जो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है. और यहाँ पे खाली एक ही चीज एडिशनल लिखी हुई है कि कभी अगर स्कोप चेंज हो गया, कुछ नई रिक्वायरमेंट आ गई तो उसको रिप्रायोरिटाइज करना पड़ेगा हमको. अभी वो चेंज प्रोसेस क्या है, हम बात करने वाले. चेंज मैनेजमेंट कैसे होता है. चेंज मैनेजमेंट और डिफेक्ट मैनेजमेंट आर प्रीटी सिमिलर एंड वी आर गोना टॉक अबाउट दैट. सो यहाँ पे फिर इसके बाद जैसे कोड QA के अंदर आ गया, QA एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर, तो यहाँ पे टेस्टिंग शुरू करनी है. तो अभी यहाँ पे कैसे टेस्टिंग करोगे तुम? जो भी तुम डॉक्यूमेंट्स लिखे ना, BRD, FRD, वो पूरी की पूरी जो चिट्ठा तुमने लिखा ना 100 लाइंस 1000 लाइंस का होगा जो तुमने लिखा हुआ है, वो एक एक लाइन टेस्ट होती है यहाँ पे. टेस्टर्स आर गोइंग टू टेस्ट एवरी सिंगल लाइन इन इंटरनेट एक्सप्लोरर, इन क्रोम, इन सफारी, different versions of Chrome and Safari, on mobile device like iPhone, Android में Samsung हो गया, Google Nexus हो गया, then whatever the commonly used phones are, right, for that company, wherever they have their users on. So हर एक जितनी तुमने रिक्वायरमेंट लिखी थी BRD के अंदर, तुमने अगर याद हो तुमको, तो हमने 100 लाइंस की रिक्वायरमेंट्स लिखी थी, वो BRD थी. उस 100 लाइंस को टेस्टर क्या करेगा, उसको 1000 लाइन कर देगा. कैसे करेगा उसको? अगर तुम देखोगे कि अगर जो भी तुमने रिक्वायरमेंट लिखी है उसको तुमको 5 अलग अलग ब्राउजर में और 5 अलग अलग डिवाइस में टेस्ट करनी है, तो एवरी रिक्वायरमेंट को तुमको 10 बार टेस्ट करना पड़ेगा. सिंपल है. एवरी रिक्वायरमेंट को 10 बार टेस्ट करना पड़ेगा. पर इसमें फ्रस्ट्रेशन क्या आता है कि टेस्टर्स को मतलब बार बार कंटिन्यूअसली टेस्ट करते ही रहना उनको, एंड दे लाइक इट. दैट्स व्हाई दे आर इन दैट जॉब. दे आर क्वालिटी कंट्रोलर, दे आर इंस्पेक्टर्स, राइट? तो जितना भी हमने लिखा हुआ है हमारे BRD के अंदर, अगर हमने कैलकुलेशन लॉजिक बनाया हुआ है कोई, तो कैलकुलेशन लॉजिक, एरर सिनेरियोस, वो एक एक एरर सिनेरियोस, एक एक कैलकुलेशन का जो पार्ट है, जो फॉर्मूला है, उसको पूरा का पूरा टेस्ट करेंगे ये लोग. एवरी सिंगल थिंग, इंक्लूडिंग अमेरिकन डिसेबिलिटी एक्ट रिक्वायरमेंट था, बिजनेस रूल्स, प्रोसेस फ्लो जो बनाया था हमने, देन पॉजिटिव सिनेरियोस, नेगेटिव सिनेरियोस, ये तूने बात करी थी, राइट? क्रॉस ब्राउजर विच इज वेब रिस्पॉन्सिव. क्रॉस ब्राउजर इज नथिंग बट वेब रिस्पॉन्सिव. Do you all remember what is web responsive? Do you all remember what is web responsive? Come on, guys. We've covered this like 10 times in the class. You go here and you click on these more tools, and you would see this is web responsive, right? Does it ring a bell? So in
Yes.
cross-browser
Whether
testing,
you want it according to the MOPO. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. All I was saying is that you want to make sure that you test this in 10 different phones. So you have these phones here, right? You will actually test this on actual phones. Your company will have bought all these phones for you. You open these websites there in test environment. Usually what will you, क्या होगा यहाँ पे ये URL ना जो उसके यहाँ पे लिखा होगा www-test ऐसी URL बन गई होगी, तो मतलब कि ये टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट है. डेव के लिए क्या होगा, यहाँ पे -dev होगा, या कभी कभी क्या होता है, कभी कभी कुछ अलग नाम दे दिया था, www- कभी कभी कोई माउंटेन का भी नाम देते थे, लाइक एवरेस्ट .bankofamerica.com, something like that, just so that nobody can hack into their test environment. तो ये इनविजिबल URL होती है, किसी को पता नहीं होता कि ये क्या होता है, ये URL का जो कोड होता है वो, बट ये URL www के बाद कुछ तो यहाँ पे अगरम तिगड़म होगा जिससे मालूम पड़ जाएगा कि ये डेव है या ये टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट है. तो उसके अंदर जाके तुम अपने फोन में जाके उसी को खोलोगे, उस वेबसाइट को, और देखोगे कि एवरीथिंग लुक्स गुड इन द फोन और नॉट. तो ये वही है क्रॉस डिवाइस टेस्टिंग, वही है क्रॉस डिवाइस. क्रॉस ब्राउजर, again, Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, Firefox in some cases, if you have more users coming from Firefox, then you will test that. ये क्रॉस ब्राउजर और क्रॉस डिवाइस टेस्टिंग वही है. सो बेसिकली तुमने जो लाइन लिखी है VRD के अंदर, एवरी सिंगल लाइन इज नीड्स टू बी टेस्टेड हियर. इसको अभी भूल जाओ, बैकएंड टेस्टिंग को, API एंड डेटाबेस टेस्टिंग, ये तुमको मैं एक रिकॉर्डिंग दूंगा, उसके बाद तुमको समझ आएगा कि ये क्या होता है. पर मतलब अगर तुम देखोगे क्या टेस्ट करते हैं हम, I'll again, just to make sure you guys follow all the jargons here, let me open the BRD checklist. ये याद है तुमको, ये चेकलिस्ट बननी थी हमने, ये सब की सब टेस्टिंग करेंगे टेस्टर्स, अलग अलग ब्राउजर और अलग अलग डिवाइस पे, और बहुत सारे बग्स निकलेंगे. व्हेन दे स्टार्ट डूइंग दिस टेस्टिंग, बहुत सारे बग्स निकलेंगे, सो दे विल लॉग दिस बग्स कॉन्स्टेंटली टू डेवलपर्स, एंड डेवलपर्स विल फिक्स इट एंड देन पुश इट बैक टू QA. ये साइकिल चलती रहेगी 2 महीने 3 महीने तक वाटरफॉल में. आर वी गुड? आर वी गुड विद दिस सेक्शन?
Yeah.
ये सब यही है जो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, सेम एग्जैक्टली वही चीज है यहाँ पे. तो नाउ यू कैन कनेक्ट द डॉट्स, राइट? जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स डॉक्यूमेंट तुम लिख रहे हो, और जो तुम हाई क्वालिटी इमेजेस बनाई थी तुमने डिजाइनर के साथ मिलके, उसका यूज यहाँ पे हो रहा है, क्योंकि ये लोग कोड लिख रहे हैं और ये लोग उसी पे से टेस्ट केसेस बना रहे हैं और तुम्हारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स को टेस्ट कर रहे हैं. अगर तुमने इसमें कुछ गड़बड़ कर दी लिखने में, और तुम अगर यहाँ पे अगर मालूम पड़ गया कि कुछ टूट रहा है, तो बोलेंगे कि तुमने डॉक्यूमेंट में गलत लिखा था, या तुमने यहाँ पे लिखा ही नहीं था, इसके लिए हमने टेस्ट नहीं करा, या इसके लिए हमने डेवलप नहीं करा. मेक सेंस?
So basically, you are also going and checking whether all the individual requirements, each individual requirements are being
So
okay,
I would not
correctly
go and-
deployed.
I would not go and check every single requirement that I've written here, but whatever makes me comfortable, and whatever time I have based on that, I'll just pick and choose. But I will not do all this requirement that you see here. It's pretty extensive testing, right? That's what the testers are going to do. That's why you need to be involved with them, and there will be a meeting on daily basis or every few days, which is called defect review meetings. So what testers are doing, when they find the defects, they log the defects in some tool, which is called Quality Center. So they log these defects in the tool, and they will use it. You don't have to worry about this. You will just get an email that, hey, this defect has been created and has been assigned to you, because you are the business analyst. All the defects are assigned to you. You take a list of all the defects, and now you prioritize which defects should development team fix first. and first of all you want to find out whether it's a defect or not, right? और अगर डिफेक्ट है तो डिफेक्ट कब फिक्स करना डेवलपमेंट टीम को, उसकी प्रायोरिटी तुम दोगे उनको. डिफेक्ट रिव्यू में तुम ये बनाते हो, और वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट. वी आर नॉट देयर येट, बट वी आर गोना टॉक अबाउट दैट इन सम टाइम टुडे.
ओके.
सो तुम्हारा एक तो टेस्टिंग का काम है, क्यूए टीम का काम ये है, ये वाला. तो अगर तुम्हारी रिक्वायरमेंट का अगर एक एक लाइन कोई पढ़ रहा है और उसको अगर टेस्ट केसेस में कन्वर्ट कर रहा है, तो सोचो उस बंदे को कितने क्वेश्चंस आएंगे. बहुत क्वेश्चंस आएंगे उसको, राइट? तो 2 महीना तुम्हारा सर खा जाएगा वो बंदा कि इसका मतलब क्या है, इसका मतलब क्या है, इसका मतलब ये है, तुमने ये सिनेरियोस कवर करे, तुमने ये सिनेरियोस कवर करे. बैक टू बैक तुमको क्वेश्चंस पूछते रहेंगे. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि जब डेवलपर कोड लिख रहा है उसी टाइम पे ये लोग अपना टेस्ट केसेस बना लेंगे, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि जैसे डेवलपर कोड पास करे क्यूए में, दे कैन स्टार्ट टेस्टिंग. अदरवाइज क्या होगा कि डेवलपर कोड को पास कर रहा है, नाउ दे आर राइटिंग द टेस्ट केसेस, व्हिच मींस दे आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड, सो देयर इज अ डाउन टाइम इन द प्रोजेक्ट. बट वही काम जब डेवलपर अगर कुछ नहीं कर रहा, डेवलपर अगर कोड लिख रहा है, ये कुछ नहीं कर रहे, राइट? ये लोग कुछ नहीं कर रहे उस टाइम पे, तो दे कैन यूज दैट टाइम टू क्रिएट देयर टेस्ट केसेस. एंड आई विल वॉक यू थ्रू इन अ मिनट व्हाट आर टेस्ट केसेस. ओके, सो ये काम है क्यूए का. तो क्यूए तुम्हारी एक एक लाइन पढ़ता है यहाँ पे, और तुम्हारा मॉकअप देखेगा, वो लिटरली कलर भी मैच करेगा, एरर मैसेज की फॉन्ट साइज तक मैच करेगा, वो उस लेवल तक टेस्टिंग करेगा बंदा वो, टू मेक श्योर कि जैसा तुमने पेज दिया है वैसा का वैसा एग्जैक्टली लगे, कुछ भी गड़बड़ ना हो उसके अंदर. वो क्यूए का काम है. सही है. और स्मोक टेस्टिंग, ये कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ना स्मोक टेस्टिंग का, ये इवॉल्व हुआ था ये कार्स की वजह से. तो कार्स में अगर तुमको तुम्हारे कार में अगर लीक है पाइप के अंदर, और तुमको लीक फाइंड करना है कि लीक कहाँ से आता है, तो व्हाट दे डू इज दे पास स्मोक फ्रॉम वन एंड ऑफ द पाइप, और वो स्मोक जाता रहेगा पूरे सब पाइप्स के अंदर से. जहां से भी लीक है वहां से स्मोक की स्लाइट लीक होगी, वहां से स्मोक बाहर आना शुरू हो जाएगा. सो यू वुड एग्जैक्टली नो कि लीक कहाँ पे है पूरे पाइप के अंदर. तो ये वो कॉन्सेप्ट यहीं पे आया हुआ है सेम. स्मोक टेस्टिंग कुछ नहीं करना इसमें, एकदम सिंपल है. जो हमने काम यहाँ पे करा था, अगर किसी ने फॉर्म बनाया, किसी ने कैलकुलेटर बनाया, कुछ 3-4 वैल्यू डाल दी, सब सही चल रहा है ना, ओके लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. ये बहुत ही क्विक टेस्टिंग होती है. ये तुम सबसे पहले टेस्टिंग तुम ये करते हो, क्यूए सबसे पहले टेस्टिंग यहाँ पे करता है टू मेक श्योर कि बिफोर इवन दे गो विद द एक्चुअल टेस्ट केसेस, जो कोड डाला हुआ है डेवलपमेंट ने वो खराब तो नहीं है. 1 out of 4 टाइम्स खराब कोड आता ही है, 1 out of 4 times. So they don't want to spend more time. Instead, the moment the code comes in, they say it's a bad code and they put it back to the developer. So ये तुम्हारे काम का नहीं है. तुम्हारे खाली इतना तुमको देखना है कि तुम ये कॉन्वर्सेशन, तुम ये ईमेल्स के अंदर कॉपीड रहोगे, because they have to copy you in all those emails. So जब तुम ये ईमेल पढ़ोगे तो तुमको it should make sense to you. This is what they are talking about. Okay. So let me explain you what are test cases now, and then we'll talk about the NFRs. तो तुम्हारा टेस्ट केसेस का फॉर्मेट ये है. तुम ये भी लिख सकते हो, अभी हम वाटरफॉल की बात कर रहे हैं, तो यू कैन राइट दिस टेस्ट केसेस इन क्वालिटी सेंटर, और यूजुअली व्हेन यू राइट इट फॉर योर ओन सेल्फ, यू राइट इट इन एक्सेल शीट, nowhere else. So over here, these are the things that you need to take care of. So test case ID, of course, कौन सा QA काम कर रहा है उस पे, वो QA बंदे का नाम क्या है. टेस्ट केस डिस्क्रिप्शन, जस्ट वन लाइनर का जो भी उसका डिस्क्रिप्शन तुमको देना दे दो उसको टाइटल. दिस इज टेस्ट केस टाइटल, नॉट डिस्क्रिप्शन मोर. टेस्ट केस टाइटल, टेस्ट केस स्टेप्स. ये स्टेप्स वही है जो एग्जैक्ट स्टेप्स यूजर फॉलो करेगा उसके मोबाइल पे या उसके लैपटॉप पे, जो स्टेप यूजर्स फॉलो करेगा स्टेप बाय स्टेप. अगर यूजर लॉग इन करना है, यूजर को पहले ब्राउजर खोलना है, तो सबसे पहले जाएगा गूगल पे, ब्राउजर पे टाइप करेगा, क्रोम के ब्राउजर में टाइप करेगा academymortgage.com, फिर जाके होम लोन्स पे क्लिक करेगा, फिर जाके होम लोन्स के अंदर पर मॉर्गेज पे क्लिक करेगा. तो तुमको पूरा स्टेप्स दिखाना है उसके अंदर. डेट, कौन से डेट पे ये सॉफ्टवेयर ये टेस्ट केसेस तुमने क्रिएट करे थे, एक्चुअल रिजल्ट क्या आना चाहिए. लाइक इफ वी रन दिस स्टेप्स, हमको ये दिखना चाहिए. अगर ये नहीं दिखा तो प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? सो यहाँ पे ये एक्सपेक्टेड रिजल्ट का कॉलम रखा हुआ है. तो जब भी ये लोग कोड लिख रहे हैं, दे विल मेक श्योर दिस थिंग इज रेडी. दिस up to column F, they are ready for your entire requirement document. They will create these detailed documents. Okay. Expected result is जब तुम टेस्टिंग करोगे तुम ये मैच करोगे कि तुमको ये रिजल्ट मिला कि नहीं मिला, नहीं मिला तो यहाँ पे क्या लिखोगे, फेल। अगर मिल गया रिजल्ट वही तो लिखोगे पास। सो पास या फेल, दो ही स्टेटस होते हैं यहाँ पे। अगर कोई टेस्ट केस फेल हो गया तो वो मेरे को असाइन करेंगे, वो लोग मेरा नाम डाल देंगे यहाँ पे, BA असाइन टू BA। मैं देखूंगा कि वो डिफेक्ट है कि नहीं। अगर वो वैलिड डिफेक्ट है तो उसको मैं प्रायोरिटाइज करूंगा कि इसको पहले फिक्स करो। डेवलपमेंट टीम को बोलूंगा मैं, अरे डिफेक्ट, ये 5 डिफेक्ट आए आज, इसमें से ये 2 मुझे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट लग रहे हैं, इसको फिक्स करके कल टेस्ट में डाल दो। यही काम है मेरा। एवरीडे मुझे ईमेल आते रहेंगे ऐसे ही, एवरीडे ईमेल आएगी, या तो ईमेल आएंगे या तो मीटिंग्स होगी 2 महीने 3 महीने तक वाटरफॉल के अंदर, और यही काम करना है मुझे। तो एक टेस्ट केस पढ़ो अभी यहाँ पे। सो दिस इज व्हाट टेस्ट केस comprise of, right? I've given you some examples here what kind of test cases we have here. So consumer types academymortgage.com on Chrome browser and hits enter. Consumer clicks on a mortgage. On the top of the page, consumer sees a page title with white color and red background, or see designs to match the format and cosmetic requirements. अभी इसको देखो क्या करना है यहाँ पे जाओ, let me open Bank of America. यहाँ क्यों नहीं रहा, क्या stupid है। This is the reason people like Google Chrome more than anything else. So ये पेज पे हमें, राइट, ये हमारा मॉर्गेज पेज है। तो क्या लिखा हमने, ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द पेज कंज्यूमर सीज अ पेज टाइटल विथ व्हाइट कलर एंड रेड बैकग्राउंड। ये दिख रहा है, होम मॉर्गेज लोन्स, व्हाइट कलर में और ये रेड बैकग्राउंड है। दूसरा टेस्ट केस क्या है यहाँ पे, मॉर्गेज पेज नेविगेशन। ये पेज नेविगेशन है, मॉर्गेज रिफाइनेंस और होम इक्विटी। तो कंज्यूमर टाइप्स academymortgage.com on Chrome browser and hits enter. Consumer clicks on a mortgage. Consumer is navigated to a mortgage lending page. You guys remember the steps, right? This is what is happening here. You go to bankofamerica.com. You click on home loans here. And under here, you click on mortgage. And this is the mortgage lending page, what you are seeing now. So I'll just call out those steps here. Consumer is navigated to a mortgage lending page. Consumer sees 3 options on this page: mortgage, refinance, and home equity. Mortgage, refinance, and home equity. The order is as listed below: mortgage, refinance, and home equity. I also have to give the orders. It could not be mortgage, home equity, and refinance. It could not be that way. I have to give the perfect order here. Step 6, when a consumer clicks on mortgage, it shall refresh the existing page. So let's do this. Do you see the page is refreshed? When a consumer clicks on the refinance, it shall refresh the existing page they are on. So it will not take them to the new tab. It will open in the same window. Do you see this now? It is refreshed and it will load. Likewise, when you click on home equity, it will do the exact same thing. So these 3 requirements are exactly same. So you will have the results here. Results should be that it should open on the same page after refreshing. If that has happened, then this test case has passed. If not, then this test case is failed. Let's take one more example. ये सब टेस्टर्स करेंगे, ओके, तुमको कुछ नहीं करना। ये सब टेस्टर्स का जो काम ही है कि ये डिटेल में ऐसे स्टेप्स लिखेंगे वो। तो जो डॉक्यूमेंट तुमने बनाया था ना 100 पेजेस का, वो डॉक्यूमेंट वेरी लाइकली 700-800 पेज का हो जाता है। So they will involve you to review this. और बहुत फास्ट होता है रिव्यू, इतना डिफिकल्ट टाइम नहीं लगता, क्योंकि 4-5 स्टेप तो कॉमन ही होते हैं ऊपर के स्टेप में क्या करना है यहाँ पे एकदम कॉमन है। देखो वापस जाऊंगा मैं 3rd स्टेप में। Consumer types Academy Mortgage on Chrome browser, hits enter, clicks on mortgage, comes to mortgage lending page. Consumer sees 3 options on this page: mortgage, refinance, home equity. इसमें से कस्टमर सेलेक्ट करेगा मॉर्गेज को। तो आई हैव सिलेक्टेड मॉर्गेज हियर। अभी क्या होता है, लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द कैलकुलेटर। customer selects mortgage from the options. When a customer scrolls below on the page, he or she shall see a personalized calculator with a default value. ये आ गया कैलकुलेटर, डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू दिख रही है इसके अंदर. अब डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू क्या होनी चाहिए? ये होनी चाहिए. अगर ये वैल्यूज नहीं है तो एरर है, बग है वो. ओके, और यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है कि कॉस्मेटिक एंड यूआई रिक्वायरमेंट्स शाल मैच द डिजाइंस प्रोवाइडेड. स्टेप 8 क्या है? इट मस्ट शो देम 3 प्रोडक्ट्स इन द ऑर्डर लिस्टेड बिलो. 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed and 5 unarmed. Step 9 क्या है? Results should be shown based on the calculation logic and it should match the rates, APR, EMI, monthly payments exactly as shown in the database or the actual market rates being offered by our company for each product. So basically यहाँ पे जो rates दिख रहे हैं वो तुमको match कर, कहीं से तो आ रहा है ना वो rate, कंपनी ने rate कहीं पे तो store करे, तो तुमको make sure करना है कि वहां पे जो rate store कर रहा है और यहाँ पे जो rate आ रहा है वो same है, दोनों में फर्क नहीं है. तो टेस्टर्स का ये काम है. Does it give you an idea now? Now do you now you can anticipate, right, why this can become such a big document? Am I right? अगेन तुम्हारा काम कुछ नहीं है इसमें, तुमको खाली अगर टेस्ट केसेस इनका डॉक्यूमेंट लिखा हुआ है इन्होंने, तुमको खाली पढ़ना है वो. और तुम्हारा काम अगर कभी कभी तुमको अगर बनाना होगा तो यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग बनाना पड़ता है तुमको. यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग का डॉक्यूमेंट. तो उसमें तुम क्या करोगे? एक हाई लेवल इंफॉर्मेशन बना के तुम उसको लिख दोगे यहाँ पे, बस फॉर्मेट सेम रहेगा. फॉर्मेट इज नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज, बट यू विल नॉट गो इनटू दिस लेवल ऑफ डिटेल where you test it across each device, across each browser, or you test like if अगर एक को रिफ्रेश कर दिया यहाँ पे, तुमको समझना है कि दूसरा दो भी ऑटोमेटिक रिफ्रेश हो जाएगा, मुझे चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है वो. So एक हाई लेवल टेस्टिंग तुम करो यहाँ पे. As a user, how you're going to use this page, start entering values here, जो भी तुमने BRD में लिखा था, और देखो कि वो एरर मैसेजेस पॉप हो रहे कि नहीं हो रहे. यहाँ पे एरर मैसेज अगर पॉप नहीं हो रहे, क्यों नहीं हो रहे? अगर पॉप हो रहा है तो जैसा मैंने डिजाइन दिया था वैसा लग रहा है, सेम टू सेम, वो सेम रेड कलर लग रहा है कि अलग रेड कलर लग रहा है, ये पढ़ने में आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है, राइट? ये सब तुम टेस्ट करोगे बनने के टाइम पे, क्योंकि जब डेवलपमेंट वाला काम करेगा ना, इतना गंदा काम करेगा ना, इतना गंदा काम करेगा कि तुमको लगेगा कि उसका गला दबा दूं. इतना गंदा काम करते वो लोग. मैं लिटरली, आई एम नॉट एग्जैजरेटिंग, दिस इज द फीलिंग आई हैव. ओके, व्हेन आई सी समटाइम्स सम बग्स, लगता है कि गला दबा दूं किसी का. क्या इतना समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि कैसे काम करना है? अभी हमारे कंपनी में एक बग आया था लास्ट वीक. आई वाज वर्किंग यस्टरडे नाइट एज वेल ऑन दैट. तो बग ये था कि मैंने मेरी टेस्टर को बोल के रखा था कि तू कोई भी रिलीज जाएगी उसके पहले तुझे मल्टीपल डिवाइसेस में टेस्ट करना है और मल्टीपल ब्राउजर्स पे टेस्ट करना है, उसके बाद ही तेरे को साइन ऑफ देना है. मैंने उसको ये 1.5 महीने पहले बोला था. तो उसने मुझे क्या बोला था कि मेरे लैपटॉप, मेरे फोन पे कभी कभी कुछ कंपनी की टेस्ट वेबसाइट्स खुलती नहीं है, पता नहीं मेरे फोन पे कुछ तो प्रॉब्लम है. तो मैंने उसको क्या बोला था कि तेरे पे नहीं खुलती तो यू कैन टॉक टू अवर अदर टीम मेंबर्स एंड टेक सम हेल्प फ्रॉम देम. आई मे नॉट बी अवेलेबल एवरी टाइम. ओके, इतना क्लियर इंस्ट्रक्शन दे के रखा उसको मैंने. ठीक है, तो अभी क्या हुआ, मैं समझ रहा था कि उसको वो फॉलो कर रही है, वो शी इज ओके विद इट एंड शी इज फॉलोइंग ऑल दोस थिंग्स. तो अभी रिसेंटली क्या हुआ कि हमारा कंपनी का एक बग आ गया प्रोडक्शन में, और उसके वजह से हमारे कस्टमर्स का जो 5 या 6 स्टेप्स थे अलग अलग फॉर्म भरने के, एक स्टेप पे अटक रहे थे वहां पे बीच में वो लोग. तो सडनली क्या हो गया, डेटा में दिख रहा है कि पहले 500 लोग ड्रॉप आउट हो रहे थे उस पॉइंट पे, अभी सडनली 500 से 2000 लोग ड्रॉप आउट होना शुरू हो गए डेली बेसिस पे. मतलब जब तुम फॉर्म भर रहे हो, ये मल्टीपल स्टेप्स इसके अंदर, राइट? देयर आर 4 or 5 डिफरेंट स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व टू बिफोर यू सबमिट अ फॉर्म टू सम कंपनी. तो हमको लगा कि ये क्यों ड्रॉप हो रहा है. तो बाद में मालूम पड़ा, हमने टेस्ट करा कि ये आईफोन में एक बग है कि जब वो पेज पे आते हैं ना, तो पेज की ये बॉक्सेस है ना, ऐसे वाले बॉक्सेस, वो बॉक्सेस दिख ही नहीं रहे थे, खाली एक लाइन दिख रही थी, बस लाइन लाइन लाइन, खाली आईफोन के लिए. तो पता नहीं चल रहा था कि क्यों दिख रही है लाइन पहले तो, राइट? वो तो जब मालूम पड़ा, जैसे ही खोला आईफोन में, देखा, किसी ने बोला कि अरे यहाँ पे तो लाइन दिख रहा है, बॉक्स दिख ही नहीं रहा है, तो कस्टमर वैल्यू डालेगा कहाँ से? और बैक बटन का ऑप्शन ही नहीं है, तो कस्टमर स्टक हो गया उस पेज पे. स्टक हो गया तो भी कस्टमर क्या करेगा? ब्राउजर बंद करके चला जाएगा, बराबर है? तो मैंने उसको बोला कि भाई तूने टेस्ट नहीं करा था. तो बोल रही कि मैंने बोला था मेरा डिवाइस नहीं चल रहा. मैंने उसको बोला कि भाई तेरा डिवाइस चल नहीं रहा, तो तूने किसी टीम मेंबर को पूछा जैसे मैंने तेरे को बोला था कि टेस्टिंग करने के लिए? तो बोल रही है नहीं. तो मैंने बोला फिर तुमने तेरा अप्रूवल कैसे दे दिया कि सब बराबर चल रहा है, प्रोडक्शन में जाएंगे पहले? अगर तूने टेस्टिंग नहीं करी है तो तू अप्रूवल कैसे देगी मेरे को कि तूने सब बराबर चल रहा है? मैंने जबकि बता क्या रखा हुआ है तेरे को कि अप्रूवल के लिए क्रॉस ब्राउजर और क्रॉस डिवाइस टेस्टिंग होनी ही चाहिए। तूने कैसे डाल दिया अप्रूवल अपना, राइट? अभी इस पे दिमाग सनकेगा कि नहीं सनकेगा तुम्हारा, बताओ। और कंपनी में चीजें मैं तो यहाँ पे तुमको 10-10 बार चीजें बताता हूँ। कंपनी में पीपल आर गोइंग टू, यू विल बी लकी इफ दे टेल यू वंस, ओके? इफ दे टेल यू वंस यू विल बी लकी, and if that doesn't happen then there will be an escalation. So you really have to listen well and make sure that if someone tells you something you make it happen. तो मेरा इतना दिमाग हट गया था उस पर। दिमाग इसके लिए हटा था क्योंकि 1500 लोग एक्स्ट्रा ड्रॉप आउट हो गए। वो 4 दिन से हो रहा है, 4 दिन से हो रहा है। मतलब हमने कम से कम 700 से 800 लोन कम करी हमने। 700 से 800 लोन का वॉल्यूम कम हो गया हमारा। अभी वो क्या होगा कि जो सीईओ है हमारा, उसको रिपोर्ट जाती है, वो रिपोर्ट सीईओ बोलेगा कि अरे ये वीक में इतना कम नंबर क्यों आए, हमारा रेवेन्यू तो इतना होता है, इतना कम रेवेन्यू क्यों आया? तो अभी कितनी कितनी स्क्रूटिनी बढ़ जाएगी, सोचो। बढ़ेगी कि नहीं बढ़ेगी? टॉकिंग अबाउट 800 लोन्स, जस्ट अगर इमेजिन अगर 800 अगर वैसे मॉर्गेज लोन्स हो, एक मॉर्गेज की लोन 3 लाख डॉलर की होती है मिनिमम, 3 से 4 लाख डॉलर, 3 to 4 lakh dollars. So you're talking about 800 loans. If you multiply that by 4 lakh dollars, $400,000, that number is going to be in like millions, right? कंपनी का रेवेन्यू जस्ट 2 दिन की तुम्हारी छोटी सी गलती की वजह से कंपनी का रेवेन्यू मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर कम हो गया। इसका इंपैक्ट कितना बड़ा है देखा तुमने? That is the reason you need to be involved in this project. When they are testing it, ऐसा काम करेंगे ना ये लोग, तुमको हंसी आ जाएगी कभी कभी, बट तुमको हंसना नहीं है उनके चेहरे पे। ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव टू बी रियली कॉशियस। अगर कोई अच्छा डेवलपर है या अच्छा टेस्टर है तो वो तुम्हारी बैंड बजा देगा, क्योंकि वो क्या बोलेगा कि डॉक्यूमेंट में तुमने ये चीज नहीं लिखी, डॉक्यूमेंट में तुमने ये नहीं करा करके वो तुम्हारे डॉक्यूमेंट में बार बार बोलते रहेगा कुछ ना कुछ। तो अगर वो बोलेगा तो तुम्हारे पास एक ही आंसर होता है उस टाइम पे कि देख भाई, जब हम रिक्वायरमेंट लिखते हैं, we are expected to come up with 80% requirements. No human can think about 100% requirements before the testing phase is coming, because we are not seeing the product, we are visualizing the product. When you see the product, things will come up, right? But when you don't see the product, you are thinking, you can only think so much. It's a well-known fact, no business analyst in the world can think through all 100% requirements. When they're writing BRD, they can think about 70-75% requirement. By the time they complete FRD, it will be about 85%. There is 15% that will still come in. That is the reason when we are in development phase and over here, when we're in development phase or testing phase, in these 2 phases, we always manage the scope and reprioritize scope here. कुछ ना कुछ नया आता ही है जो हमने पढ़ा नहीं, जो हमने पहले बात नहीं करी है, या जो डॉक्यूमेंट में था नहीं, तो तुमको स्कोप मैनेज करना पड़ता है यहाँ पे। इसीलिए लोग वाटरफॉल को हिट करते हैं, क्योंकि जैसे स्कोप चेंज होगा यहाँ पे, तुमको पूरा फिर से यहाँ से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा। डॉक्यूमेंट मॉडिफाई करो, सबका अप्रूवल लो, फिर उसकी डिजाइन देखो, फिर डेवलपमेंट में जाएगा, फिर टेस्टिंग में जाएगा। तो ये बड़ी साइकिल है ये। इट टेक्स अबाउट अ मंथ टू पुश इन एनी चेंज हियर। सो तुम्हारा प्रोजेक्ट उतना डिले होता जाएगा। इसीलिए लोग वाटरफॉल को हिट करते हैं, क्योंकि चेंज रिक्वेस्ट इतनी इजीली मैनेज नहीं होती यहाँ पे। But this is how you write test cases, right? And chances are high that you will write only user acceptance testing. Remember this word, user acceptance testing. This testing is being performed by you, and you may have to write this high level test cases, not in this detail, but high level test cases. Step 1 ये है, step 2 ये है, step 3 ये है। जैसे कस्टमर जैसे यूज करेगा ना सॉफ्टवेयर को, सेम तरह से कस्टमर अगर ये काम करने वाला तो मैं ये स्टेप लिखा हुआ है मैंने। जैसे कि अगर उबर का ड्राइवर ऐप तुमको डाउनलोड करना है तो क्या करोगे? गो टू ऐप स्टोर, टाइप उबर, इट विल शो यू 3 apps, उबर ड्राइवर, choose uber driver. When you choose uber driver, if the app is already installed, it will say open. If the app is not installed, it will give you an option to say install. The moment you click on install, it will start showing you a spinning circle like this in iOS. That app is being downloaded with blue color, right? And once the app is, if you can pause that, if you click on that blue processing icon, that app download will stop there, will pause it, and you can reinitiate that by clicking on the button again. Or if you want to cancel the downloading, you have to go to your phone, that page where the app is being downloaded, press on it for a few seconds, then close it, so the app will be uninstalled, right? So these are the steps for that. You have to write this exact journey. It's very easy to write user acceptance testing if you have done a good job in writing BRD, because you exactly know what is the process, and this is where the user journey helps you. The user journey that you created in the beginning, comparing all the mockups. Now you can put together that entire flow. Is it working or not? Right? If it works, they've done a good job. If not, you have to go back and forth, make sure that that gets fixed. So this is how you write test cases. And I'll share this document with you so that you can remember this, like you have this format with you. Or यहाँ पे, at the end, what you are going to do, after every test case that you have completed, you will make sure that you put the status as pass or fail. Or if it is partially passed, like some steps were passed and some steps were failed, you'll mention which steps were passed and which steps were failed. And for the failed thing, you'll assign that to a BA. BA will work with you all, prioritize the defect based on the impact, and developer will again work in the dev environment, fix that code, and push it back to you all in test environment. So this is what keeps happening for 2 to 3 months in waterfall. In Agile, this exact process is still there. The only difference is that it does not happen for 3 months in one go. It happens few times every day for 2 weeks, and then you go live, and then you're done. Every 2 weeks, you put something in market, right? Let's go back. Oh yeah. So Agile में क्या होता है, प्रोडक्ट ओनर जो होता है उसका भी काम सेम ही है, कोई डिफरेंट काम नहीं है यहाँ पे. जो काम बीए करता है वाटरफॉल के अंदर, वो सेम काम प्रोडक्ट ओनर वाला करेगा अजाइल के अंदर. डेवलपर का कोड देखेगा कि सब सही लग रहा है, ओके, इसको क्यूए में डाल दो. क्यूए उसको टेस्ट करेगा. क्यूए टेस्टिंग करने के बाद बोलेगा अरे ये चीज टूट रही है. तुम बोलोगे अरे ये चीज टूट रही है, लेट्स लुक एट इट. इसका इंपैक्ट इतना है, इसको अभी फिक्स करना है, इसको डेवलपर को असाइन कर दो, बाकी को फ्यूचर स्टोरी में ऐड कर दो, बाद में फिक्स करेंगे, अभी नहीं करना उसको. तो जो काम तुम वाटरफॉल में कर रहे हो सेम काम यहाँ पे कर रहे हो, पर यहाँ पे इंटेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है. इसकी इंटेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है क्योंकि यहाँ पे तुम्हारे पास प्रेशर बहुत होता है, क्योंकि एवरी 2 वीक में एक रिलीज है. वाटरफॉल में एवरी साल में एक रिलीज है. if you are having a company for arranging someone's wedding, right, and you're arranging your own wedding, the stress is only for once, like for a person who is going through the wedding process. But a company who is doing this on regular basis, they are every day in a stress environment because they cannot screw up one single event, otherwise their reputation will be compromised. Correct? तो यहाँ पे ये होता है कि एवरी 2 वीक कुछ ना कुछ मार्केट में डाल रहे हो तुम, जिसके वजह से प्रेशर होता ही है कि अगर कुछ गलत हो गया तो पंगा हो जाएगा. So every 2 weeks you do the exact same thing what we discussed here. तो टेस्टर्स के पास BRD नहीं होता, टेस्टर्स के पास यूजर स्टोरीज होती है. तो यूजर स्टोरीज हमने जो लिखा हुआ है ना, वो लाइन बाय लाइन, वैलिडेट दैट दिस हैपेंस, वैलिडेट दैट दिस हैपेंस, एरर सिनेरियोज और वो सब, उसी को लिख के उसको टेस्ट करेंगे अलग अलग ब्राउजर में, अलग अलग डिवाइस में, और नेगेटिव सिनेरियोज निकालेंगे और बैक एंड टेस्टिंग करेंगे, डेटाबेस में कैसे दिख रहा है वो सब और वही सब. ठीक है, तो ये होता है टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट का काम. अभी तक मैंने इन दोनों को बात नहीं करी है, मैं इसकी बात करूंगा. अगर तुम्हारी कंपनी में स्टेजिंग एनवायरनमेंट नहीं है तो ये यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग भी यहीं पे होगा, टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर. अगर तुम्हारे कंपनी में स्टेजिंग एनवायरनमेंट है, आफ्टर क्यूए देयर इज अ स्टेजिंग एंड देन prod, then user acceptance testing needs to happen here, not here, because this will not be very stable environment for you. When you're doing a user acceptance testing, environment should be stable, because that's the last step before you are flipping the switch to go to the production now. So you want to make sure that the environment is stable. You don't want to hear from people, hey, अरे इसके लिए नहीं हुआ क्योंकि यहाँ पे ये तो ऑलरेडी टूटा हुआ है, यहाँ पे ये पंगा हो रहा है. अगर ऐसा होगा तो तुम अपना साइन ऑफ नहीं दे सकते. You cannot give your approval. I want to make sure everything is ready for me to test before I give you my approval. वैलिड आस्क है, क्योंकि अगर तुम डिफेक्ट निकाल रहे हो और वो बोल रहे कि डिफेक्ट नहीं है, इसके ये रीजन टेस्ट एनवायरनमेंट है, इसके लिए ऐसा हो रहा है, तो यू कांट एक्सेप्ट दैट unless it's a very genuine reason. You can't accept that. Making sense?
You
were saying something, Amir?
Yes. In Agile, when something is a defect, you put it back in the product backlog or back into,
No, in the Scrum, there is a story, right? Under the story, there will be a defect assigned. Remember,
Okay.
I said whenever you create epics, features, or stories, under stories, there will be tasks and there will be bugs.
Okay.
So for that story, if there are 5 bugs, it will be tied to that user story in Azure DevOps. And for those bugs, you can prioritize, you can give priority to those bugs. This bug is number 1 in priority, this is number 2 in priority, like that.
So I thought prioritization was done in product backlog, but in this case,
Product,
it,
go ahead, complete your question.
So in this case, it's done over here in the Scrum.
That's an excellent question, Amit. So in product backlog, you prioritize epics and features. In sprint planning, you prioritize user stories. In defect review meetings, you prioritize defects. So prioritization is done at 3 different levels. Epics and feature first in product backlog, then user stories in sprint planning, and then defects in defect review meetings.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. So there are different type of testings here. So this is just the BRE testing, but there are some different type of testings I want to make sure that you guys know before I go further here. And NFR will be part of that. So we already talked about unit testing, sanity testing, and smoke testing. Sanity and smoke testing is very similar. Load testing and stress testing. This is not for you. This is automated testing for and not for BA. Automated testing and not for BA. तुम्हारे लाइफ में कभी कभी ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है जब तुम बोलते हो कह रहे मैं बहुत स्ट्रेस्ड आउट हो गया हूँ, मैं कभी कभी बोलते हो कह रहे बहुत लोड है मेरे पे, उन दोनों में डिफरेंस क्या है? When you say I'm stressed out, and when you say I'm loaded with work, what is the difference between them?
You are stressed out because the load of your work.
You are stressed out because of the load of the work, that's correct. But when you say I'm loaded with the work, that doesn't harm you, right? Like you can still handle it. अरे मैं बहुत busy हूँ, बहुत काम आ गया.
Yeah.
But you are still able to handle it. But there will be a breakdown point where you say, अरे इतना काम है कि मेरे से handle ही नहीं हो रहा.
Yeah.
ये फर्क है, right? जब बात करते हो तो ये फर्क पड़ता है. तो कंपनी में क्या होता है?
Is it possible that अगर आपको stress बहुत ज़्यादा है, आपके पास enough time नहीं है उसको complete करने का, that can cause stress you too?
Yes, that can cause stress too. That's correct. So over here, the load and stress testing is used in a different context. The context here is तुम्हारी साइट के ऊपर कितने यूजर्स आ रहे हैं, राइट? जैसे कि फेसबुक पे 1 घंटे के अंदर कम से कम 1 मिलियन यूजर्स आते हैं, उसकी वेबसाइट यूज करते हैं. अगर लंच टाइम हो यूएस का तो 1 मिलियन 10 मिलियन हो जाएगा, 10 मिलियन यूजर्स. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि जैसे भी ये पेंडेमिक आ गया था तो सब पूरा वर्ल्ड फेसबुक के ऊपर ही पड़ा है, राइट? अभी जैसे कि ये वाली वेबसाइट थी, आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ यू गाइस हैव सीन दिस और नॉट, बट ऑल ऑफ अस वुड हैव सीन इट इन सम वे और द अदर. हैव यू गाइस सीन दिस वेबसाइट वर्ल्डोमीटर? बहुत फेमस हो गई थी कोरोना वायरस की वजह से. ये
Yes.
देखी हुई है, राइट? ये कोरोना वायरस के पहले कभी तुमने ये साइट एक्सेस करी थी? Chances
Didn't
are
even
very
hear
rare.
about it
Sorry?
before COVID.
No,
Didn't even know about this before
Yes.
COVID.
तो अभी देखो क्या हो गया इसके अंदर कि ये वेबसाइट को कोई नहीं जानता था. अभी वी हैव 7 बिलियन पीपल इन वर्ल्ड. ओके, इन एंटायर वर्ल्ड वी हैव 7 बिलियन पीपल इज द पॉपुलेशन, 7.5 बिलियन. उसमें से समझो कि अगर आधे के पास फोन नहीं है और वो अंडर एज है तो अबाउट 3 बिलियन लोगों के पास कम से कम फोन होगा. सही है? अभी वो 3 बिलियन पीपल जो जानते नहीं थे ये वेबसाइट को और अभी वो जानने लगे, तो वो क्या कर रहे हैं एवरी डे, क्योंकि खाली बैठे एवरी डे यहाँ पे जाएंगे, आधे घंटे में चेक करेंगे कि कितना नंबर आए. ओके, तो 3 बिलियन पीपल आर चेकिंग दिस ऑन एन एवरेज. आई एम जस्ट अज्यूमिंग 5 टाइम्स अ डे. ओके, 5 टाइम्स में वो क्या करेंगे, 4-5 पेज पे क्लिक कर लेंगे. यहाँ पे जाएंगे, यूएस पे चेक करेंगे, इंडिया पे चेक करेंगे और एक दो जगह पे जाके चेक कर दिया, राइट? बेस्ड ऑन योर नेटिव कंट्री. तो पर सेशन मैं जाता हूँ, per time whenever I go onto this site, I at least browse 5 or 6 pages. Okay, और मैं दिन में ये कम से कम मैं 5 बार करता हूँ. तो मेरी कितने पेज भी हो गए यहाँ पे? मेरे 5 सेशन हुए, because I came to this site on 5 different times. So I have had 5 sessions for this site, but in each session I had browsed 5 more pages. So मेरा कितना हो गया total page views? 25 page views per day per user on an average. Correct? Are you with me?
Yeah.
तो अभी ये जो साइट बनाई है इन लोगों ने, इस पे 3 बिलियन लोग 25 बार इनका साइट देख रहे हैं एवरी डे। तो 3 बिलियन इंटू 25 मल्टीप्लाई कितना होता है, वो कितना होगा? मुझे आई कांट इवन काउंट द नंबर, प्रॉब्ली 750 बिलियन हिट्स। सो जो वेबसाइट पे पहले 1000 क्लिक नहीं आते थे, वो वेबसाइट पे अभी 750 बिलियन क्लिक्स आना शुरू हो गया। जैसे कि तुम्हारे घर पे पहले 10 लोग सोते थे और अब अचानक से 1000 लोग सोएंगे, तो कैसा होगा? राइट? तुम्हारा घर हैंडल ही नहीं कर पाएगा, तुम्हारी ये साइट हैंडल ही नहीं कर पाएगी, साइट टूट जाएगी। कभी कभी तुमने देखा होगा कि कभी तुम पेज को अगर साइट पे आते हो तो बहुत स्लो लोड होता है। क्यों? क्योंकि उसके अंदर है ना, पीछे बहुत सारे लोग उसको यूज कर रहे हैं, या तो इंटरनेट कनेक्शन होगा या तो फिर बहुत सारे लोग एक साथ यूज कर रहे हैं। नेटफ्लिक्स पे कभी कभी होता है स्ट्रीमिंग कि टू मेनी पीपल आर यूजिंग दिस वीडियो एट द सेम टाइम, सो द प्रोसेसिंग स्पीड इज स्लो। कभी देखा होगा तुमने ये, राइट? तो क्या होता है कि जब भी बहुत सारे लोग अगर एक साथ एक वेबसाइट को यूज करते हैं तो वेबसाइट टूटती है। तो उसके दो पॉइंट होते हैं, एक होता है लोड और एक होता है स्ट्रेस। लोड होता है कि जब वेबसाइट हैंडल कर ले, स्लो हो रहा है 5 सेकंड की जगह पे 25 सेकंड लेगी, पर वेबसाइट लोड हो रही है प्रॉपरली, तो उसको बोलते हैं लोड टेस्टिंग। देयर इज अ पॉइंट वेयर साइट कैन हैंडल द लोड, बियॉन्ड दैट इट्स अ स्ट्रेस फॉर द साइट बिकॉज साइट इज गोइंग टू ब्रेक, इट विल जस्ट नॉट लोड, it will just break or it will just load the pieces of this page, it will never load the entire page. And you guys may have come across that scenario as well. कभी कभी कोई रैंडम वेबसाइट पे जाओगे तो खाली वो कुछ एलिमेंट्स ही पेज के लोड करता है, पूरा पेज लोड नहीं करता वो, बिकॉज इट कैन नॉट हैंडल द स्ट्रेस इन दैट मोमेंट। बहुत सारे लोग एक साथ आ गए उस सेकंड के अंदर और लोगों ने चालू कर दिया करना ही, राइट? सो उबर कितना करता है? उबर 15 मिलियन राइड एक दिन में करता है, 15 मिलियन राइड। To book one ride, there are at least 3 or 4 pages that customer has to go through on their mobile application. और इसके अलावा कितने लोग तो उबर चेक करते होंगे पर राइड बुक नहीं करते होंगे। तो their daily clicks is about 50 million, 50 millions for sure. 50 million users are visiting their page on daily basis. अभी इसमें तुमको पीक टाइम दिखाना है। पीक टाइम कौन सा होगा? सर्च टाइम। जब शाम को जब जाते घर पे लोग या सुबह जब निकलते ऑफिस जाने के लिए, वो सर्च टाइम है जहां पे हिट्स उनके 50 मिलियन में से 20 मिलियन हिट्स खाली उसी टाइम पे आ रहे हैं। तो तुमको मेक श्योर करना है कि तुम्हारा वेबसाइट इतने क्लिक्स हैंडल कर सके और तुम्हारा पेज अच्छे से लोड कर सके। अगर वो नहीं होगा तो पंगा हो जाएगा। तो उसको तुम टेस्ट कैसे करोगे? तुम अभी प्रैक्टिकली तुम 10 या 15 मिलियन लोगों को बुला नहीं सकते, और बुला के तुम ये नहीं कर सकते कि अरे अभी तुम टेस्ट करना शुरू कर दो, एक साथ लॉग इन करो। इट्स ह्यूमनली इम्पॉसिबल, राइट? क्या तुम बोल सकते हो क्या 15 मिलियन लोगों को बोलो एक साथ तुम लॉग इन करो अभी मेरे लिए? वो टेस्टिंग पॉसिबल नहीं होगी। तो तुम क्या करते हो? उसके लिए स्क्रिप्ट लिखते हो। वो जो क्यूए होता है वो क्यूए लिखता है। तो जब टेस्ट वो स्क्रिप्ट लिखेगा तो एक साथ वो 1 मिलियन एप्लीकेशन क्रिएट कर देगा और लॉग इन करेगा, देखिएगा कि परफॉर्मेंस क्या है पेज का। परफॉर्मेंस शुड बी लेस देन 1 सेकंड स्टिल। इज इट मोर देन 1 सेकंड और लेस देन 1 सेकंड? इज इट मोर देन 3 सेकंड्स और लेस देन 3 सेकंड्स? वो पॉइंट बनाते हो लोग, एंड दैट्स हाउ दे डिफाइन लोड एंड स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग। तुम्हारा काम नहीं है ये, तुमको खाली सुननी है बातें जब बात करेंगे लोग, क्योंकि तुम्हारा प्रोजेक्ट लाइव नहीं जाएगा जब तक ये दो चीजें खत्म नहीं करी होगी किसी ने। तो तुम्हारे को याद रखना है कि ये भाई ये टेस्टिंग होगी उसके बाद ही मैं लाइव जा सकता हूँ, उसके बाद नहीं जा सकता हूँ। क्यों? क्योंकि इसमें क्या होता है, ये लंबा प्रोसेस है। इसकी स्क्रिप्ट लिखने में कम से कम 1 महीना लगता है और टेस्टिंग करने में एडिशनल 2 वीक्स मान लो, तो 5 या 6 वीक का एडिशनल टाइम बेक इन करना पड़ता है। तो क्या होगा, ये टेस्टिंग जो है ना तुम्हारी लोड और स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग, जब तुम्हारा एक्चुअल क्यूए वाला ये काम कर रहा है तब क्यूए इंजीनियर्स, क्वालिटी इंजीनियर्स, यहाँ पे 2 टेस्टिंग होती है, मैन्युअल टेस्टिंग और क्वालिटी इंजीनियर्स। क्वालिटी इंजीनियर्स ये टेस्टिंग करेंगे और तुम ये टेस्टिंग कर रहे हो। मेक सेंस? ऑल गुड सो फार? ऑल गुड? इसमें और 2 चीज आती है यहाँ पे, परफॉर्मेंस टेस्टिंग। सो एनएफआर इज दिस, लोड टेस्टिंग, स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग। सो जब तुम फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट डॉक्यूमेंट लिखोगे ना, उसके अंदर एक पोर्शन होता है नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स का। नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या होती है? जो तुम देख नहीं सकते, जैसे कि स्पीड को यू कांट सी, परफॉर्मेंस यू कांट सी, यू कैन सी दैट पेज इज नॉट लोडिंग बट व्हाट्स हैपनिंग बिहाइंड इट यू डोंट नो, राइट? तो ये जो लोड टेस्टिंग, स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग, परफॉर्मेंस, स्पीड टेस्टिंग, ये सारी की सारी नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स है। और यूजेबिलिटी टेस्टिंग, कभी कभी क्या होता है कि कस्टमर जाएगा एक पेज से दूसरे पेज पे, दूसरे से तीसरे पे, पर फिर भी फॉर्म नहीं भरता। क्यों नहीं भरता? क्योंकि कुछ तो वेबसाइट पे यूजेबिलिटी अच्छी नहीं है जो हमको फिक्स करनी है, तो वो दिखता नहीं है, तो उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स यहाँ पे लिखनी होती है एनएफआर में। तुमको अगर इंटरव्यू में कोई पूछेगा कि तुम्हें एनएफआर का मतलब क्या है, तो तुमको ये बोलना है लोड टेस्टिंग, स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग, परफॉर्मेंस टेस्टिंग, स्पीड टेस्टिंग और यूजेबिलिटी टेस्टिंग, राइट। टेस्टिंग वर्ड मत यूज करना। रिक्वायरमेंट्स फॉर हैंडलिंग द लोड एंड स्ट्रेस ऑन द साइट, requirements to handle the performance of the site and speed of the site. Based on load and stress, your performance and speed will get affected. Am I right? और ये स्क्रिप्ट लिखते हो इन चीजों से।
I have a question again, sorry.
Go ahead.
So how will the QA decide how does usability testing come in here? Because of the design of the website?
Yes.
Okay. So the designer has to fix it.
And there is one more which is maintenance. ये कभी-कभी तुमने देखा होगा कि साइट पे कभी-कभी मेंटेनेंस का मैसेज आता है कि our site is under maintenance right now. Please check back after an hour or so. और ये देखना तो AT&T में कभी भी तुम 12:30 को रात को लॉग इन करो AT&T की साइट पे 12:30, you will see this message.
Okay. So you use all these tests don't come back to the BA.
No. But when you are writing your functional requirement document, like business requirement document, there is another document which is functional requirement document. When you write this document, as part of the document, there is one section only for NFR. So you have to write these requirements. So you need to talk to your development team and dev lead. They know what are the points on this. They will give you these requirements. You need to capture this. Usually, every company has this requirement created beforehand. All you want to do is just someone has done this before. Just copy that table and put it in your document. That's it. अगर कोई कंपनी पहली बार कोई प्रोजेक्ट बना रही है तो ये नहीं होगा, इसको स्टार्ट बनाना पड़ेगा, इसको डिटरमाइन करना पड़ेगा। बट एग्जिस्टिंग कंपनीज लाइक बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका, कैपिटल और ये सब के लिए ऑलरेडी होता ही है सब। सो यू जस्ट कॉपी दैट टेबल फ्रॉम वन डॉक्यूमेंट एंड पुट इट इन योर डॉक्यूमेंट एंड दैट्स इट।
सो यूजेबिलिटी टेस्टिंग, एक तो कंज्यूमर का फीडबैक आएगा यूज नहीं हो रही है, बट दैट्स काइंड ऑफ व्हेन यू लॉन्च द प्रोडक्ट you get that.
Not really. You actually invite users to your company and they give you a feedback. You actually send emails to some other team members in your company. Hey, can you help me do the usability testing for this particular product? Can you just share your view? What does it look like to you? Any feedback is appreciated.
Who calls them? The QA or the BA?
QA.
Okay.
BA if BA wants to. Remember, guys, BA can do anything and everything that BA wants, right? But we need to limit ourselves. We have hired quality engineers so that they can do this work for us.
Fantastic. All right, got it.
ठीक है, तो ये तुम्हारा हो गया NFR। तो यहाँ पे जब जाओगे फिर से लोड टेस्टिंग एंड स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग, ये हमने यहाँ तक अभी तक सेटल करा हुआ है। ये आगे के जो है बहुत ही सिंपल है, कुछ है नहीं इसमें। ये सब नाम बड़े बड़े खाली यूज करते हैं ये लोग, पर काम बहुत सिंपल है। सिस्टम इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग, ये क्या होता है? अभी तुम देखोगे हमारा उबर एप्लीकेशन के अंदर हमने मिक्स करा था कि एक गूगल मैप्स था, एक पेमेंट सिस्टम थी। गूगल मैप्स, पेमेंट सिस्टम और किसी और कंपनी ने कोई कोड लिखा था और हमारी कंपनी ने भी कोड लिखा था। तो ये चारों जब एक साथ आएंगे तब तुम्हारा प्रोडक्ट फटेगा, चीजें पूरी खराब हो जाएगी। समझे कैसे? मतलब समझो कि तुमने तुम्हारे घर के 5 रूम अलग अलग बंदों से बनवाए हैं, अलग अलग कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से बनवाए 5 अलग अलग रूम, राइट? अभी वो 5 रूम तुम्हारे वहां पे डिलीवर करके आएंगे और उसको फिट करना है, तभी सब कुछ गलत होगा। बिकॉज क्या हो रहा है कि जब तक वो लोग अकेले में काम कर रहे थे चीज बराबर लग रही थी, जैसे सबके साथ मिलकर काम करने लगे चीज टूटने लगी। तो इसके लिए यू ऑलवेज परफॉर्म सिस्टम इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग to make sure that all the systems when are brought together are still working well. Make sense? तो हमारे में एग्जांपल है सेल्सफोर्स, पेमेंट गेटवे, गूगल इंटीग्रेशन। वो सब साथ में जब लेके आएंगे तभी भी उबर का ऐप बराबर चलना चाहिए, अदरवाइज तो पंगा हो जाएगा। करेक्ट? ब्लैक बॉक्स टेस्टिंग, ब्लैक बॉक्स टेस्टिंग ये हम सब डेली बेसिस पे करते हैं। ब्लैक बॉक्स का मतलब क्या होता है कि you do not worry about what's happening in the application. All you worry about is input and output. That's it. You give the input and what is the output. That's it. So what it means is कि तुमने फॉर्म भरा, फॉर्म में तुमने इनपुट डाल दिया, फर्स्ट नेम, लास्ट नेम, ईमेल आईडी, पासवर्ड डाल दिया, तुम्हारा लोन का साइज डाल दिया, एंड ऑल दिस थिंग्स, राइट? यू क्लिक ऑन सबमिट. If it gives you a thank you message, all looks good. You are not worried about where this information is going on the back end. तुमने फॉर्म भर दिया, ये इन्फॉर्मेशन कहाँ पे जा रही है, कौन सा लोन ऑफिसर इस कस्टमर को कॉल करेगा, उसकी राउटिंग कैसे होगी. यू डोंट गेट इनटू ऑल दोस थिंग्स. जस्ट सिंपल फॉर्म भरो, आउटपुट में थैंक यू मैसेज आया, ऑल गुड. सो यू डू दिस ब्लैक बॉक्स टेस्टिंग when you are giving demos to a larger stakeholder group. You want to keep it at a very high level. You don't want to go into the details of the project. So you try to do just black box testing and get done with it. Okay, user acceptance testing we already talked about. It's for a BA. Now these are the additional testing that is required in environment other than QA, depending on your company's depending on your company's timelines and company's availability, right? Of course. So टेस्टिंग में हम यही काम करते हैं. QA एनवायरनमेंट में तुम्हारा यही काम होगा. तुम्हारा यहाँ पे पूरा काम यही है कि बैक टू बैक सबके डिफेक्ट्स देखो, प्रायोरिटाइज करो, यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग परफॉर्म करो और लोगों को गाइड करो कि रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है प्रोजेक्ट पर. बस तुम पूरा दिन वही काम करते रहोगे और कुछ नहीं करोगे यहाँ पे. ठीक है. इसके अंदर अभी इसके बाद अगर सब सही लग रहा है यहाँ पे, तो वी आर वन स्टेप क्लोजर टू प्रोडक्शन रिलीज. तो हम क्या करेंगे, स्टेजिंग एनवायरनमेंट में ये जो सारा कोड यहाँ पे ना, वो सारा कोड अभी हम स्टेजिंग में डाल देंगे. यहाँ पे डालने के बाद हम क्या करेंगे, पूरे एप्लीकेशन का, नॉट जस्ट द फंक्शनलिटी दैट यू आर वर्किंग ऑन, पूरे के पूरे एप्लीकेशन, जितने भी एप्लीकेशन इन्वॉल्व है मॉर्गेज के अंदर, वो सारे के सारे एप्लीकेशन को तुम टेस्ट करोगे. और उसके लिए ऑटोमेशन टेस्टिंग होती है, जो Q&A कोड लिखे रहते हैं, तो पूरे के पूरे उसको रन करेंगे. तो 1 या 2 दिन लगते हैं वो पूरा का पूरा स्क्रिप्ट रन होने को. उसके बाद जाके तुमको रिजल्ट मालूम पड़ेगा कि सब सही लग रहा है कि टूट रहा है कुछ. अगर कुछ टूटा तो उसको जाके फिक्स करना पड़ेगा फिर से. और उसी एनवायरनमेंट में तुम परफॉर्म करते हो यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि देयर इज नो एनवायरनमेंट रिलेटेड इश्यूज एंड यू कैन रन योर टेस्टिंग स्मूथली. अगर ये स्टेजिंग एनवायरनमेंट नहीं है तुम्हारे कंपनी में, तो तुमको ये दोनों चीजें यहाँ पे करनी पड़ेगी आफ्टर सिस्टम इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग ईयर. ठीक है. पर ये तुम जो प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहे हो उसी की नहीं, वो प्रोजेक्ट जहां जहां पे टच कर रहा है तुम्हारे पूरे एप्लीकेशन को, जितने भी तुम्हारे एप्लीकेशन है तुम्हारी कंपनी में, जैसे कि बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका के पास हजारों एप्लीकेशन होंगे, राइट? तो तुम अगर तुम्हारा का जो प्रोडक्ट है मॉर्गेज प्रोडक्ट, तो मॉर्गेज के कौन से एप्लीकेशन को वो टच कर रहा है, वो सारे के सारे एप्लीकेशन की तुमको टेस्टिंग करनी है कि उसमें कुछ कहीं पे टूट तो नहीं रहा. अगर कुछ टूट गया तो गए, पूरा फिर से फिक्स करना पड़ेगा, फिर उसके बिना तुम लाइव नहीं जा सकते. और उसी टाइम पे मैं भी करूंगा यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग. तो ये दोनों की अप्रूवल्स देंगे, इसका अप्रूवल्स QA देगा, इसका अप्रूवल BA देगा या प्रोडक्ट ओनर. अगर अजाइल वर्ल्ड है तो प्रोडक्ट ओनर. अजाइल में क्या होता है कि ये पूरा का पूरा स्टोरी बेसिस पे होता है. हर एक स्टोरी को तुम टेस्ट कर रहे हो, अप्रूवल दे रहे हो, टेस्ट कर रहे हो, अप्रूवल दे रहे हो, टेस्ट कर रहे हो, अप्रूवल दे रहे हो, फाइनल अप्रूवल आएगा रिलीज पे. तो भी कुछ कंपनीज क्या करती है कि यहाँ पे ये खत्म हो गया ना, उसके बाद सीधा इसको प्रोडक्शन में डाल देती है. ये स्टेप होता ही नहीं है, ये स्टेप होता ही नहीं है. ये वाला जो दिख रहा है तुमको, ये मैं इसको ड्रैग नहीं कर पा रहा हूं अभी यहाँ पे, बट ये स्टेप होता नहीं है, ये ऑप्शनल स्टेप है, प्री प्रोड. और इसमें तुम क्या करते हो, टेस्टिंग नहीं करते हो, वैलिडेशन करते हो. वैलिडेशन का मतलब क्या है, एकदम क्विक टेस्टिंग कर ली तुमने प्रोडक्शन के अंदर. जैसे कि तुम अगर घर का भी लीज फाइनल करने जा रहे हो, राइट, तुम्हारा घर का पोजीशन लेने जा रहे हो घर खरीदने के बाद, तो यू डोंट हैव मच टाइम, यू डोंट हैव 5 days टू गो बैक एंड चेक योर होम एंड इंस्पेक्ट योर होम. तुम साथ में तुम्हारे इंस्पेक्टर है वहां पे, तुम घर के अंदर घर देख रहे हो, सब सही लग रहा है, ओके, लेट्स साइन द डॉक्यूमेंट, समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो ये प्री प्रॉड और प्रोडक्शन एनवायरनमेंट एक दूसरे का कॉपी होता है, रेप्लिका, लाइक अ लुक अलाइक. तुम पहले यहां पे डालते हो जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि थिंग्स आर लुकिंग गुड. वन मोर कॉशनरी स्टेप्स, if everything looks good here, then you push it to the production. Or some companies will push directly from staging to production, or some company will put from QA to production. So it can, production release can happen either from QA or from staging or from pre-prod, depending on your company's environment and the way they have set up their company. 99% sorry, not 99%. In 60% cases, it will be QA to prod. Additional 20-25% will be staging to prod, and remaining 5% or 10% would be pre-prod to prod. This is expensive. Like setting up all these environments multiple times is expensive, right, for the company. There is a lot of server cost around it, and it takes a lot to maintain these environments. So, but some financial companies have a need because they're working on a sensitive product and they need these environments. For example, like app like Robinhood, where you do trading for stocks on daily basis on every minute, right? They cannot even afford downtime for 5 minutes. So it makes a lot of sense for them to go through these 5 different environments. But for a company like Uber, now it can, but when they were starting the idea before, they just had this like 1 or 2 environments, this just QA and prod. But after years now they are at a point where they do want to make sure they have these additional environments. So it depends on your company's size and the company's reputation. But usually you can go to the production either from QA or from staging or from pre-prod. There are 3 different ways to enter into the product. All you are doing here again is there will be a scrum master or a project manager. If it is agile, there will be a scrum master. If it is waterfall, there will be a project manager or a release manager. They're going to coordinate all the entire release. And all you are doing is validations of the requirements. Like once it is in production, this is the time where I go ahead and I submit my application as a user. I don't mind if my credit history gets hit by this. But if I've created a loan application, I will go through the entire experience and make sure everything looks good to me. This is where I was saying that I'm the first user of my product. This is the validation that I perform. Sometimes you might hear the word beta testing. This is just a jargon again. All it means is when you're working at a client, when you outsource the project to some other companies, right? Or like companies like Cognizant, Wipro, when they build your product, right? They will assign that product to your company first for beta testing. If your company gives approval, then only they will actually do the launch, not before that. So just a fancy word, but this is all you do in terms of testing. This is, I think, from the interview perspective, your roles and responsibilities again: defect prioritization, perform smoke testing and user acceptance testing, help QA understand or confirm whether it is a defect or not, and coordinate the bug fixes. That's it. These are your responsibilities. And you're going to do these 4 things like every single day in waterfall for 2 to 3 months, or in agile, right before your release, you will be involved in this like few days before 2 weeks ends. Few days before that, you will be constantly in this cycle. Every 2 weeks, you spend 2 to 3 days on this. Because there are 20 stories that you've created. You want to test those 20 stories, which is user acceptance testing on those stories, and make sure that all looks good. And then if you give your approval, then only they can go live. So in agile world, this pre-prod is definitely not there. In agile world, you can max have QA and staging. You will not have the pre-prod. So this is all that happens in testing phase. And again, testing phase is, if you guys see here, this one. Whatever you just described, this is all here. This is all you do. So you see your role in design, development, testing, and implementation is a very short role. Your key role is here. This is the heart of a BA, which is where we have spent about 70% of our effort in these classes. If you do this well, then all this will become piece of a cake for you. Why? Because first of all, you have earned trust from people by writing good requirements, by understanding the requirements, by understanding the project. Once you write the requirements, you know your project in and out. So you are the subject matter expert now. If anyone has any question about this project, you are capable of answering that. And you will be. Once you write the BRD and user stories, you will be in a position to answer that. Trust me on that. After that, all this is purely coordination and making sure that you just clarify their doubts and help them in reprioritizing something if there is a help needed. That's it. This is all your role. So if I want to summarize my 12 years of experience, I had only one unique month in each year where I really, really learned something. Rest 11 months is daily routine tasks for me. I only learned for 1 month. In 11 months is the stretch. I keep doing the same thing, making sure other people understand the thing that I've learned in 1 month, and customers can start using the product. So my 12 years of journey can be as small as 12 months of journey. And the 12 months of journey, from that, I have already given the knowledge that we have shared in the class. It's about 4 to 5 months from that. And I can tell you, when you start working, you may not experience all these things in your first project. It can take years, or sometimes you will never experience these things, because the company where you're working, they will never go into this level of details, or they will never able to adopt this process, because these are very dynamic processes. These are very high quality processes. Not every company is able to adopt them and move forward that quickly. But again, as I said before, I don't know from the 70% or 80%, whatever I've taught you, what 20% will be applicable for you. It's very dynamic based on your company and based on your project.
I have a question again. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So I'm clear on waterfall about system integration testing and all the tests.
Mm-hmm.
But in Agile, when you put a story at a time and you go in production with the story, do you test when the new story is going to be added? Do you test the two stories together to see if the system will take that load? Or
You
if
can, right? So if it's a part of one functionality, if both the stories are part of the similar functionality, which is login. So login has forgot password and forgot username, right? Both the stories are tied with that now. So you need to test both the functionalities together. But when one story is ready, forgot password is ready, then you will just test forgot password story first. When second developer comes and says, hey, forgot username is also ready, now you will test both of them together. But at the end, whatever testing you have done, the testing needs to be tested across all the applications being used by your customers. And make sure, which is called regression testing, which is right before the release. And we have once, so companies can usually have one release every 2 weeks in Agile, or one release every 1 month. In Waterfall, one release will be after 9 to 12 months.
So in regression testing, we're doing all the functional requirement testing and the non-functional requirement testing together.
Functional testing, non-functional requirements testing, you do it. Plus, you also test the applications that could get impacted with this new functionality that you've created.
Okay, but there is no system integration testing like in Waterfall.
It is part of that, right? When you're talking about several applications.
So there
is nothing in this.
That's what I was confused.
There is nothing in this which can be not done in Agile and only in Waterfall. Everything that you see here can be applicable for both Waterfall and Agile. The only difference is that in Waterfall, you do this extensively for 3 months in one go. In Agile, you do this every 2 weeks, and you have last 2 to 3 days of the sprint dedicated for these things. So in a Waterfall, you do all together. In Agile, you just do in small pieces. But everything that you see here, you still need to do that.
Okay, so just a question that comes to my mind. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's say we've run 9 stories and everything's working fine, and we put 10 in, and now not working fine. So, and we test that one story and it's fine, but when we add it to the 9 stories, integrate them, it doesn't. So how do you fix that bug?
It's not on you, right? All you are saying is that this is the bug that is failing. Developer will look into that and will try to find out why it is failing and fix it. Once they fix it, the sad part is that you have to test all the 9 stories again.
Oh my God.
So testers do this. We don't do this. We just do user acceptance testing.
All right, thank you.
But remember, if tester does something wrong, team is not going to question them. Team is going to question you, because when you're working with your subject matter expert, your business folks, your senior director, they are not going to go to the tester. Hey, why did you break this? They're going to talk to you. Hey, why did this happen? And now you cannot say, hey, because tester missed it, because you are putting someone's reputation at stake now, right? So you have to be very careful about what you say in that situation. So you can say, hey, it looks like it's a miss by a team. And I think we will probably make sure that we look into our regression testing or test cases and make sure that we include this as test cases going forward. But do not try to pinpoint one person and try to show that it is because of this person.
So what happens to the whole application when you get stuck? Because every 2 weeks you're running something, but you're stuck because you're testing 10 applications together because they're not running. and the test for one, the 10th was fine, but now you have to test all the others with
All
it.
together again, yes. That's
So
how it happens.
that takes a lot of time.
Yes,
You know,
it does. That's why
and
before you start the regression testing, you really want to make sure all these things have been taken care of.
so does that slow down projects often or no?
We just make a decision that hey, if there is not a showstopper bug, then we can go live, and we can come back and fix this in next few days.
Okay.
So it's a very laborious process, and your testers are doing like, I sometimes feel bad for them because they're just constantly testing. It needs a lot of patience, right? Just imagine that you have to submit the same form like 100 times. What would you do? It requires a lot of patience. So, but it's their job. That's what they're getting paid for, and we are getting paid for making sure that the product gets rolled out in time with a good quality. So usually you cannot, don't try to be a person who would try to blame someone or finger point on someone. But we don't have to do this as a BA because we want to keep team's spirit positive always. But you will often see that people are pointing on you, and don't take that to your heart. It's okay. Let them do it. They're doing it for a reason. Okay.
What's
What was the Raman?
what's the reason they blame you? What's their reason?
The reason is that everything when you hear about quality, people think about testing team. When you think about coding, people think about development team. When you think about high quality images, people think about design. The moment you think about requirement, there is only one name that strikes: analyst. And entire project is all about requirements, right? So if something doesn't work, hey, because there was no requirement for that. So now you see why we have to be so careful when we write BRD. This is the reason that you will go into these fights. I can tell you, I get in that situation like every 2 weeks. That people start saying that, hey, there was no requirement for this and all, blah, blah, blah. And you just deal with that situation as it comes. You just tell them, hey, I understand there was no requirement. Did you ask me this question before? When we had the grooming session, why didn't you bring this up? So the bottom line is, I should not say this on the call, but I recently learned is you should never try to answer a question. You should always try to ask another question in return. The moment you do that, you will automatically start leading the team by asking right questions. When you answer, you are sharing your opinion. But when you ask right questions, you are seeking for opinions from others. So right questions can sometimes lead you to the right answer. So if you think that someone is asking you a wrong question, hey, this was a requirement that was missed. So instead of getting emotional at that time, hey, ask him, hey, I can see that there is a requirement missed. What do you suggest? What should we have done before? So that person will say, hey, when we were talking about this should have been captured in BRD. Okay, and why do you feel that it should have been captured in BRD? So you make that person answer that question more than what you are answering. And sometimes you may learn that there is a valid point in that. And if it is, then just accept your mistake. If you feel it's not a valid mistake and someone is just trying to like take a troll on you that, hey, you need to do a better job. So you can tell him, hey, you understand, right? What you're asking, if I do this, instead of submitting this document in 1 month, it can take me 2 months. Are you okay with that? So you're not answering the question directly. You see my point? But this blame game is going to happen every 2 weeks. Hence, I'm preparing you for it. I never blame people though, but I do get blamed, and which is part of my job. I don't mind that much. Cool. I think with that, I think that's all you need to know in terms of testing. And let's take a quick break. There are some more theory topics that I have to cover with you just for your knowledge, so that you remember those jargons. And that's about it. I think we are pretty close. Let's take a quick break for 5 minutes, and let's get together in 5 minutes from now.
Okay.
Hey all, I'm back.
Okay.
So I wanted to cover one important thing with you all, change management. It's a very important question. Yeah, everyone is back, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is part of our job. Change management is very important. And let me share some more insights on that. So in this document, the one that you're looking in front of me right now, I have created an example of RSCI for you. I'll attach this document in the Teams channel. We have discussed the RSCI yesterday. There is a test case format here, which we just talked about. This is the format for test case, and this is the change management that we need to be aware about. And this is type of analysis. I think we've already covered this. So change management and impact analysis can go together. To understand change management, I think we need to start really, really simple. Let me give a very hypothetical situation here. So we are extremely busy people, like extremely busy people in our life. Okay. And our doctor recommends us that, hey, we need to make sure that we include 1 hour of workout in our daily routine in the morning and in the evening. How would you manage that situation?
Time management. Like, suppose if usually I wake up 6 in the morning, I might wake up 5:30 in the morning and start taking that.
So basically you will, so when you say time management, you are basically trying to say that you will increase 2 hours of work for you every day.
Yeah,
Right?
because we cannot add time in the day. The day is going to be set.
Yes.
12 hours.
So you increase 2 hours of work every day. What's next? What else we can do?
We can work with that schedule, see where we can kind of fit in that extra hour of workout.
So when you say, when you will look into schedule, but how would you fit in that? Like you are working already 18 hours a day, and there is not even a single minute that you have. So when you say you want to work around your schedule, what workaround you're talking about?
So for example, instead of taking a 1 hour lunch break, I can do half an hour and then something like that. Or when there's a lax time in work during that day, I can. So it's like, figuring out your own schedule and see where you can take that
So
time.
cut corners in the existing task.
Yeah.
To carve more time. Is that right?
Yeah.
What's next?
What changes are needed in your habits where you're wasting time? What can be more efficient? Maybe prioritize your day. If you're doing things that others can do or that are not needed, to change them, and or you can substitute more efficient ways. I mean, we do a lot of things on whims. There's a lot of excess that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of health, either fall sick and do nothing, or adapt.
So whatever I captured here is looking good to you. Increase 2 hours of work every day. Cut corners in the existing task. Find out less important things and ditch them with proper prioritization. Increase efficiency in existing tasks. What else?
I think you can be creative. I mean, when they say workout, it doesn't have that you have to go and actually run. Say, for example, you are running some chores, but that could be your workout. Instead of driving, you can walk, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you got to be creative. And especially now, we are working from home and they say take a break. So say after every 15 minutes, you get a stand desk and then don't sit,
Okay.
So I guess you just have to be creative. And of course, your diet habits.
Mm-hmm. What else? There is one more thing missing in addition to what all you have said. Delegation. Stuff that you feel that you were doing is still important, but you cannot, if you want to delegate it to someone, you need to either hire someone to do that job for you. For example, let's talk about cooking or house cleaning, right? Hey, if I'm spending like 4 hours every month on every week on cooking and cleaning the house, I'll probably delegate that stuff to someone else. I'll hire someone else. Correct? I'm just giving you some stupid example right now, but just to give you an idea, there is a delegation that also comes in the picture when things are important and you still cannot remove that from your routine life. You need to hire someone else to do that work for you, or you will seek help from other people. Hey, I'm too busy today. Other people would be your family, your friends. Hey, I have something really serious going on. Can you just for 1 month, can you please take care of this couple of things for me? Right?
Can I say something?
I can hear you, Sazia. Yeah, go ahead.
So in every job, in every profession you go, there's always change management is involved because a person who's actually working on certain project or certain tasks, it needs to be more prioritized and more in written form and all the requirements and what the work he has done to be documented to see the measures and implementing process to finish the project for other people who's
That's
involved
correct.
in the project.
That's correct. Change management is an integral part of your job, and you'll be dealing with this like every few weeks. If not every couple of months, you'll be dealing with this every few weeks.
No, in my profession, what I understand with change management, the change management in my profession is, let's suppose I'm working a task for, mine is more like an agile environment. So if I'm working a task, I have to complete the task within an hour. I have a number of minutes and time I have to complete. Let's suppose in that time, I am off from my work. I'm done. Meri job khatam ho gayi hai, or somebody is going to come back and take over. So my job is actually when I'm working that specific project or specific thing or task, I do put all the information about what the work I have done to follow up for the other person to take over and finish the project, basically.
Yep, that happens. You're right.
That's what I understand change management, but you're telling a lot more.
That's what it is. And I'll probably give you one more example, and it will become extremely clear. So we are all humans, right? When there is a change in a project, change in our life, change in our lifestyle, change in a place, change in location, it creates stress around us. Right? We are wired that way. Whenever someone tells us to change something, we often get defensive in a way. Hey, I'm already so occupied, man, I cannot do this. Our emotions will start coming out and we'll start pushing back on things. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So when there is a change coming in, of course, because there was a missed requirement, right? So you might see that a lot of people around you are pretty annoyed or creating a chaotic situations around you. That hey, why are we talking about this right now? And people will get mad, people will get angry. someone will just try to push back and someone will try to blame you. Lot of things are going to happen. First and foremost thing that you should do in that situation is, hey, let's put the past behind. We know things have happened. We can have a dedicated meeting to discuss how can we prevent this happening again. But let's focus our energy on rolling this out right now, as opposed to finding it why it went wrong. We will schedule a meeting for that. And I would love to hear your suggestions to make sure that we don't run into the situation again. So let's put the past behind. Let's create a path for forward, for the project forward now, right? What that path looks like. If this is the change, what are our options? Put them a question and be super confident when you're making this statement in front of them. Because the moment there is a change, everyone in the team, you're dealing with like 15, 20 people or at a minimum, or there'll be 40, 50 people sometimes, if you include marketing team, legal team and all, right? They all will have different reactions. And reactions you can pretty much count on, right? Like, hey, someone is going to get mad, someone is going to be upset, someone is going to be like, hey, why are we doing this? Someone is going to ask so many questions. Like, these are some common reactions that you will be seeing from people around you. Whether it's in your project, whether it's in your personal life, it doesn't matter. Whenever there is a change, it is never well received. Is it fair to say that? Right? We still want to make sure
Yes.
it's done. We still want to make sure things gets done.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Change
Amit.
management originates, what are the originations? From the customer? Or you've made something? How does it originate?
It could be anywhere, right? Change management from the scope itself. When you're creating the project charter or when you're creating the product backlog, we missed something to talk about that. And there is a new requirement that is coming. There could be a change management when someone is doing a development and they found a new requirement. Hey, how should we handle this scenario, which is not covered in BRD? Then we need to talk about that change management. There is a user story that is being written. We missed a couple of acceptance criteria. There is a change management around that. When we are testing, something works very differently now than what we would have envisioned. So there is a new scope which nobody has thought about before. So how should we handle that? When we go to production, customers are not liking this product because of this bug in it. That's in our existing priority. We need to fix the production issue first now. Then we need to focus on something else. That's also change. So change can come in different ways at different points. Right? But
this is the definition.
Sorry?
This is a really good definition to trying to actually put in the words.
Yeah. So it can come at different points, right? And no matter at what point that comes in, people are going to have reactions, similar reactions. Whether the project is on track, whether the project is not on track, there will be similar reactions from people around you, right? And it's very agnostic moment to be in that zone and really help drive team forward, because people will start pointing fingers really, really badly in the company. So you really want to make sure that you tell them, hey, whatever has happened, I understand there is a room to improvement. Let's put that aside right now. Let's not talk about that. We want to make sure that we'll talk about that in a meeting. We'll find out the exact steps, why it went wrong. We'll do the root cause analysis. We'll do the post-mortem for this. We'll come up with action items. That's not our concern as of now. Our concern is to make sure how could we not miss the deadline and still go live? How could we help project moving forward? Be very confident and very firm when you're making this statement. Okay. So when change comes in, these are the only options anyone on the planet has. Okay, what we just described here, these are the only options any single person on the planet has. There is nothing different that happens in the company than what we have described here. So usually this is what happens when there is a change management. Take help from other team members. Deprioritize other things to adjust this new requirement. Delay the release to incorporate this requirement along with existing requirements, or everyone works overtime. Do you think this 4 categorizes this gestures or emotions that you have called out here? Right?
Yeah.
So if someone in the interview asks you, how do you handle change management? इतना सिंपल है, कुछ नहीं करना इसमें. change management is the essence of our life. Humanity is managing changes for so many years, decades of years, or I can say thousands of years, right? But there is no other way to manage change than this four. Or the fifth one would be, you can become creative, as someone said. Option 5 would be creative and come up with some new approach. But again, that is still going to pretty much lead you to option 1 through 4. So people will talk in these terms. Let's do this. Someone will say, hey, if you ask quality people, they'll say, hey, I can't do this. Let's move the project deadline by 2 weeks. If you ask developer, hey, I need more time. Let's push the project by 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or let's get help from someone. Nobody is going to volunteer to say, I want to work overtime. Of course, right? Nobody, even including myself. No one will volunteer themselves that, hey, I want to work overtime. But the moment you have your boss involved in it, because your boss is the one who's going to review your performance at the year end, and everyone wants to impress their boss, right? The moment it comes from your boss, people are like, hey, let's make it happen. And the spirit is, let's make it happen, everyone works overtime. So usually in agile world, if there is a change, it's an implied thing, everyone works overtime. Okay, like you guys said, right? Like Hassan said, that we have to increase 2 hours of our work every day. So during that time, that is the only option. Okay. There are some. So now, how will you define whether you want to go with option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4? Are you guys with me so far? Does this sound like a legitimate framework to handle change? Do you think these are the only options you have? At least from 12 years, I feel these are the only options I've seen. I've not seen any other option in my company. So to decide which options should you select from option 1, 2, 3, and 4, you need to decide, you need to evaluate the impact and risk of that change. So we've done this impact analysis and risk analysis. And the framework for this is your interview question, guys. Everything that we have done yesterday and today, from that, this is the most important topic. Okay, change management, there will be a question in the interview if I'm not wrong. So the way you evaluate this is option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4 versus is you find out what the change is about, first of all, right? Describe the change. So I've given you an example here that this change is, let's go to the Bank of America's website. So over here, it defaults you to the some standard amount, the down payment and zip code, no matter from where you are accessing this page, from what part of US, right? But I'm changing this requirement to say this information should be populated based on someone's IP address. So if someone is logging in from Texas, the average house price in Texas is about $350,000. So it should say purchase price is $350,000. Down payment would be 20% of that, and zip code should be a popular zip code in Texas. If someone is logging in from California, then this price should change to $1 million because that's the average property size there. Down payment will be $250,000, and then put the most popular zip code there. So instead of having a default value, as 250, 50,000, or 95464 for all the states in US, I'm changing this requirement to say that this should be based on state or based on a city. Do you think it's a fair change that someone can ask for, business team can ask for?
Yep.
Right, that's a requirement. Now, of course, testers are going to say, hey, this was not called out in the requirement document before. Why are we bringing in this change now? Because business team wants it. It's like when you have a carpenter at your home and carpenter starts furnishing your house, building sofas and all those things for you, and now you suddenly change the requirement. Hey, can you please make this table as well? Hey, can you please not make it this way? Can you please make it this way? So it annoys carpenter to the hell. The carpenter will say that, hey, why are you asking this right now? Didn't we agree to something? That is the exact same expression you're going to get in the company from testers and developers. Hey, did we already agreed on something? Now why trying to change something? Right? But there is a logical requirement. Just because people are not happy to accept the change doesn't mean that I should not do that. I'm running a company. I'm not running a society and it's not my job to keep everyone happy, right? I want to run a company, and if company requires a change, company requires a change. It doesn't matter how bad or how good you feel. It doesn't matter whether we miss the requirement or not, right? Am I right? For example, if you are going in an airlines, like just assume United Airlines, right? And they have assigned you a seat, and suddenly something happened, and they come back and say that you don't have a seat anymore in the flight. How are you going to take that? It's your company, dude. You make it happen. I'm not going from you. Am I right? Whether they like it or not, whether they
don't ask that. Don't ask that. Personal experience is pretty horrible. Don't ask that.
So customers are going to just the same thing. Business owners are customer focused, right? Business owners are customer focused and business focused. Hey, dude, if you don't feel happy, I understand. Let's keep your emotions aside. Let's make this happen. And when we want to make it happen, we need to start talking about the options. What are the options? These are the options. So display mortgage products based on the zip code. This was little beyond that. I think what I said here was not just this requirement by IP address, but also these products can change based on state to state. In Florida, you may want to show 20-year fixed as opposed to 30-year fixed year. Right? So based on state or city, you can either change this or this information. But bottom line is there is a new dynamic requirement that has come in based on your city or state. You want to change something in this view. That's the scope change. Okay. So requirements is display mortgage products based on the zip code provided by a user, or provide a capability for a business owner to add or remove the mortgage products to be displayed in results section. Provide a capability for a business owner to edit or update the sequence of mortgage product in the results section. So over here, what I'm trying to call out is 3 different scenarios. Display mortgage products based on zip code. Now you can do that by letting business owner managing the mapping of zip code and the mortgage products. So that configuration requirement, you guys remember, right? Like when you go to Facebook, if you want to change privacy settings, you can do it on your own. You don't need help from developer. Likewise, when you want to change the mortgage product based on particular zip code, you just fill that in an Excel sheet and code will look at that and populate the right information based on your IP address. So there are multiple ways to do this. So the bottom line is that let's not get caught up with the example. The main thing is the framework. Framework is that you need to impact these things. You need to impact what is the cost associated with that change. What are the hours it is going to take? What are the timelines shift we are talking about? How many customers are being impacted by this? Number of customers affected, number of customers affected and percentage of customers. If there are 6,000 customers, it sounds like a big number, but if it is 0.1% for a company, then it's a very small number, right? 6,000 for Facebook is like too small. So number of customers affected, percentage of customers affected, what is the business priority on this? And based on all this information, you will define a team priority, whether the team should go with option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4. So you need to do this assessment before you go into this one. So if someone starts talking about a change in your company and start pointing finger around, just stop them. Hey, okay, let's put the past behind. Let's talk about how much cost it is going to take, how much hours it is going to take, what shifts we're talking about in timelines, what is the impact to customer, and what is the business priority around this. And now you get an idea that should we go with option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4. This is, if you just say these things in your interview, your answer will be bang on. Then nothing, you cannot be more organized or professional in handling a change than what you have here. There is one additional thing that comes in here, which is change request form. So whenever someone wants to change anything, you give them a change request form. They fill in that form and then you prioritize that. But that happens in waterfall. In Agile, this is how you deal with. Like every 2 weeks, there is some change coming in. You only have 2 options. Either you can do it in the current sprint or you push it to the future sprint. When you want to push it to the future sprint, if you want to do it in the current sprint, it will be either working overtime or take some help from other team members or removing some stuff from the existing sprint backlog, right? Remove 1 or 2 stories to accommodate this one. Or delay the release, which means you will work on this in the next sprint, and our release gets pushed to the next week after that. So in nutshell, this is what, and this is where you are performing the impact, right? This is the impact analysis. How many customers are being impacted and how? What is the risk? If you don't go live, this is the opportunity we are going to miss. Like 500 customers will be waiting for this functionality, knowing that it is already in production. This is an important fix. If you don't do it, 500 customers are being suffered every day. So that's the risk that we are talking about. So when you're doing change management, you need to find out the impact, you need to find out the risk of not putting that change in market, what's going to happen. And this is the framework for that. Cool. And again, the exact same thing, this framework you use for defect management. When I say you want to prioritize defects, which defects are important ones and which defects are less important ones, you exactly use this framework to find out what defects are important. And defects are usually categorized in this way, or a change request: critical or showstopper, high, medium, or low. Critical or showstopper is like you cannot go live without making this change. If there is a security requirement where someone enters a wrong password and it accepts it, period, you cannot go live. Anything that affects customers' personal information, you cannot go live. Anything that stops user to do something and it's in mass, like a lot of customers will be affected by that, you cannot do that. But there is an FAQ page that is broken. Now, again, not every customer is going to go to the FAQ page. But if there is a login page that is broken, everyone has to go to the login page to do something. That's more important than FAQ page. And just to give you an example, so you categorize the change request in this format: critical or defect, both. Change or defect, change management or defect management is not very different, because whenever you're talking about a defect, you have to have the same lens of viewing how many customers are impacted by this, how can we make this happen, and what options we have to choose from these 4 options. Right? So critical, showstopper, high, medium, low. And your business owner will tell you what is that looks like if there is a major change. If it's a defect thing, you can make the decision on your own, understanding that, hey, how much is the impact to the customer and how much timeline shift you're talking about. If it is important, if it is high, it can go as part of next release, which is 2 weeks from now, as opposed to doing it right now. So this is the mindset you need to have. All good? Sounds good enough? No.
So far.
Sorry?
Yes.
And it's simple, right? You just need to know this framework. When you will start working with people in the company, they'll help you fill in this information. But you should ask this question: what is the cost? What is the timeline shift we are looking at? How many customers are being impacted? And you have to ask this to your business owner, right? Because they will know how many customers are being impacted with this. Then how many customers are being impacted, and just a minute, go at the bottom. Okay, I think so that covers change management. I think that's all you need to know. In the interview, the way I've explained you right now, if you explain the same way, hey, we just have few options. When we just look at first the cost associated with it, hours associated with it, timeline shift, impacted customers, what is the business priority, and then we define the team priority. And usually while defining a team priority, we consider one of these options: either take help from other team, either everyone works overtime, or deprioritize things if needed, or delay the release. Don't give this option in the interview. Delay the release. It looks bad. Okay, so don't give option 3. Give option 1, option 2, and option 4. Cool. I think now there are some very simple 2 understand topics are left. A couple of topics that I wanted to cover. And again, I'm going to share videos with you all on the functional requirements document and some information about the data flow diagram, how that works. But as I said before you go through those videos, you'll have to understand what we've covered so far, really master these things. When I say master, just be familiar with these things so that you can speak through them. And that functional requirements document thing can happen in parallel. Once you are really ready with all this information, it will help you understand functional requirements easily. So I'm going to share that video with you all probably next week, once you guys give me a heads up that everything looks good to you. And there was a topic called RTM, Requirements Traceability Matrix. Okay, so we have talked about several documents. We have talked about business requirements document, which is BRD. We have talked about functional requirements document, which is FRD. We have talked about user acceptance document, the test cases that we were writing in as a business analyst, that is called user acceptance testing. And there will be test cases that we have written, right? This is only from the interview perspective. Chances are 99.99% you're not going to create this document, because people don't have time to really write requirements. There is no way they have time to map the requirements. All you're doing here is, if there is one BRD, for that one BRD, there are 5 FRDs. Sorry, if there is one BR, business requirement, for that one business requirement, there could be 5 functional requirements. For each functional requirement, there could be several test cases, like 10 test cases for each of them, right? So you need to do mapping. You need to do mapping of all those things. Like this BR requirement is part of this 5 functional requirements here. So you just map the IDs here. And this 5 FR IDs is part of this 100 test cases here. Why do you do that? In waterfall, when you go live, this is happening only in waterfall, okay? Not in agile. And this is part of functional requirements document. At the end, you have a matrix that you need to fill in, which is called requirements traceability matrix. Why do you have to do this mapping? Since we're talking about thousands of requirements, thousands of test cases, at the end of the cycle, like 1 year, we want to find out of this 1,000 requirements, how many have them actually gone live, and how many of them have not gone live. So you need to have IDs associated with each requirement, and you will mark them. This is done, this is done, this is done. Things which were not done will be part of your next release cycle, right? So you want to find out at a high level, hey, what has gone live and what has not gone live, and this is the reason for that. So whenever you create requirements traceability matrix, it's super simple. 5 चीज याद रखनी है हर डॉक्यूमेंट के लिए. डॉक्यूमेंट का आईडी, डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ दैट रिक्वायरमेंट, कौन सी डेट पे वो रिक्वायरमेंट लिखी थी, रिक्वायरमेंट टाइटल, रिक्वायरमेंट डिस्क्रिप्शन, डेट एंड क्रिएटेड बाय. तो ये 5 चीज है रिक्वायरमेंट आईडी. ये 5 चीज है हर डॉक्यूमेंट के तुमको लिखना है यहाँ पे. बीआरडी के लिए 5 चीजें, एफआरडी के लिए भी ये 5 चीज होगी, यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग के लिए भी ये 5 चीज होगी, टेस्ट केसेस के लिए भी ये 5 चीज होगी. तो तुमको खाली क्या करना है, वो 5 का मतलब यहाँ पे 5 into 4 20 कॉलम आ जाएंगे यहाँ पे, और बिजनेस रिक्वायरमेंट यहाँ पे लिखनी है. उस बिजनेस रिक्वायरमेंट की कितनी फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स है वो यहाँ पे लिखनी है. इस एक फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट के कितने टेस्ट केसेस है वो यहाँ पे हमको ऐड करने, वो आईडी मैपिंग करनी है. तो अगर तुमको कोई पूछेगा इंटरव्यू में कि रिक्वायरमेंट्स ट्रेसेबिलिटी मैट्रिक्स क्या होता है, तो खाली तुमको इतना ही बोलना है कि वी मैप द डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ रिक्वायरमेंट्स व्हिच आर क्रिएटेड, व्हिच आर बिजनेस रिक्वायरमेंट्स डॉक्यूमेंट, व्हिच आर इन बिजनेस रिक्वायरमेंट्स डॉक्यूमेंट, फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स डॉक्यूमेंट, technical design document, and test cases. We map all those things, and usually when we map, we look at these few things: requirement ID, requirement title, date by when it was created, who created it, and the description of that requirement. For each document, we need to map these 5 things. And at the end, there will be a status, whether it is completed or not completed. Make sense? Chances are, again, 99.99% you're not going to create this document. I'm that confident. Nobody creates this. This itself is monster. This takes like 1 month of effort to create this mapping. So people don't spend time on this. So that's the requirements traceability matrix. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, what are you showing this now? How this works? That app communicates with all the teams. Do you in every person individually
Excel sheet.
Okay.
Excel sheet. There is one more tool that is being used, which is if you're working with IBM, there is something called IBM Doors. IBM Doors automatically does this for you. You don't have to do this Excel in an Excel sheet, but usually if there is no IBM Doors, and you have to create this manually. Hence, it is like super tedious job. And if there is a change, again you have to go back and manage all those things, and it becomes very difficult to manage this. But nobody creates this in the company. Like people are working so fast these days, nobody has time to do this kind of things. This used to be the case like 10 years or 20 years before, but not anymore. So that's the requirements traceability matrix topic. And let me go through my list and talk about one more thing, since we have 30 more minutes left. There is something called, so I told you that development phase, development team is creating the page that is being created by designer, that high quality page, and they make sure that the information that is coming from that page is saved in the backend. When I say backend, I'm talking about, I'll give you some knowledge on this one. I'm also going to share a recording, but I still want to talk about this, just so that I make sure that you understand these things really well. So इस phase में क्या होता है? In development phase, you talk about they build front end pages or UI, they build APIs, they make sure stuff, all the information is stored properly in DB database, table in servers, database, and tables. And I'm going to walk you through that, what that looks like. They build web responsive pages, they take care of security requirements. This is their role. This is what they're going to do. Now, there is one thing that you guys want to remember is these two things. These 2 points from here. Build APIs and server, database, and tables. So this is the hierarchy. There will be a server. Under server, there will be several databases. Under databases, there will be several tables. Under tables, you will have rows and columns. Okay, so this is how it works. You go to your C folder. Your C drive is your database. If you have your personal laptop, your C drive is your database, right? Under C drive, you have one folder created. That's database. Under that folder, you have an Excel sheet, which is a table. Under that Excel sheet, you have rows and columns. Correct? So this is the hierarchy. When a user submits form online, or when a user submits the information on the calculator online, that information is stored in a specific server, in a database, in tables, and in rows and columns. So basically what happens is, if I open this document again, over here, let's say if I have a form on my site, first name, last name, email ID, phone number, Let me open the site here. So this is my website, dgschool.com. So over here, when someone fills in this form, full name, email ID, mobile number, training type, and some notes. So training type and some notes, right? Whenever someone submits a form, it will create a record. It will create a new record in my Excel sheet. Correct? If there are 5 people, I'll have 5 records. If there are 50 people, I'll have 50 records. Am I right? It's more like a school, right? So same thing happens here. Whenever someone submits the form online, if we say Bank of America has 50,000 customers coming in and 5,000 customers are submitting form every day, 5,000 new rows are added in your database. 5,000 new rows are added in your database in tables. So there will be one database. Under one database, there will be several tables. One of the table will be contact table, store contact information table. So all the customers who have submitted the store contact information online on the contact form, that will come to that specific table, and it will create that many records in that table in the form of rows and columns. So columns are equivalent to the number of fields that we are going to have. So if in the form I have 5 fields, I will have 5 columns here to capture that information. There will be some other hidden columns like IP address, someone's timestamp if you want to capture, or some other hidden information that you want to capture that can come here, right? But at a minimum, however many fields I have in the column, in the form, I need to have at least that many columns in the table to store that information here. Are you with me? Simple math? Simple math, right? So this is the hierarchy that you need to remember. Server, database, tables. Under tables, there will be rows and columns. So one of your key role is when this information is stored in the database, right? You might be wondering that what is the role of a data analyst? Data analyst, their role is to make sure that they look at these tables and they create some reports like this. What you see here in Worldometer, this is a report being created by someone, right? So they have written some queries in MS SQL, structured query language. It's an, again, Microsoft tool. In servers are more like a refrigerator. They are refrigerator size servers. Literally, I'm not joking. They're that big. Okay, they are like hard drives. In your laptop, you have a C drive. In companies, that C drive is like a refrigerator because they save billions of data in it. Under that server, there is a database and there is table, but there is no way to communicate with that hardware. The only way you can communicate with that hardware is by writing SQL queries, SQL. Which is structured query language. So Microsoft has created a product where if you install this software on your laptop and your company allows it, then this software can communicate with this server and can get you this kind of reports, this kind of information that you're looking for. Okay. You don't have to worry too much about it. This is purely for your knowledge. Just take this for fun. Even if you don't understand this, go back to the recording, hear it 10 times, it's completely fine. This is not that important. This is purely for fun. I just have 20 minutes. I'm just trying to use my time and give you some additional information that I can. So structured query language. And I can tell you, you all have ran this query without knowing until now. I can tell you how. You go to Google. On Google, when I say find restaurants near me, right? The moment I do that, find restaurants near me, it's calling this table. It's calling that specific server, then the database, and then the table. Table is stored under the database, right? So it has to go through these gates. These are the security gate points. Like when you want to sit into the flight, there are security gate points, right? Like there is a security checkpoint, and then before you sit in the flight, there will be someone who will be checking your ticket one more time. These are just the gateways. actual information is stored in the tables. So what Google is doing, whenever someone types find restaurants near me, Google is taking that person's zip code based on their IP address, okay, and the timestamp when they are making that query. They use that two information and query this table behind the scene that give me only records that matches within 5 miles of this zip code and which are open now. So from this, there will be like millions of rows here because millions of restaurants have entered their data in Google. So they're all stored in Google. From that million record, it will only pull 500,000 record which are open at that moment. So as a user, you have written a query here in Google. This is the exact query you write using SQL Server behind the scene. Developers are creating this query for you. So when you type in something like that in Google, it automatically executes the technical query behind the scene, which developers have created. And again, I don't want to go into too much details, but just to show you, remember this site called w3schools.com. Go to SQL here. Learn SQL. So these are the commands that SQL offers. So SQL is English without grammar. The way you write queries in SQL is English without grammar. What I mean by that is, let me show you. I think it will be overload of information for you today. I don't want to start this topic. We can probably continue on this topic on this Thursday. I'll use this 30 minutes and explain you it really well. I think it will be overload of information for you now that I'm thinking. You already covered a lot. And I think I'll probably use this 15 minutes for your question and answers.
There's a free app for SQL, and it actually teaches a lot of different flashcards of the language.
Your voice was breaking, Shazia. So ask for SQL is what?
मैंने ऐप डाउनलोड की है, उसकी पूरी लैंग्वेज डेफिनेशन है.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that anybody can download it. It's completely free.
Yeah, you can. That's fine. If you can share that information on the Teams with everyone, Shazia, I think people can download that. But again, this is not so important for you. You might find in your job descriptions that people are asking for SQL knowledge. Don't worry about that. And 99% you will not do anything like this. But just go ahead and put that in your resume that you know SQL, you have exposure to SQL, which you will by the end of this class on this Thursday, and you will know what kind of queries we have and how to write them. But overall, I believe this is again too minor of a responsibility. You will not have time to do this in your actual work. So I think I'll leave this 15 minutes for you guys to ask me questions. I think I've covered officially all the topics that we had or I had in mind for this batch. And ball is in your court where you want to really go through all the documentation, go through these videos if whenever needed, and start preparing for your interview. We are going to have the Thursday's class. I'm not going to stop that. We are going to meet every Thursday for 30 minutes. And what I'm looking for now, after a week or two from now, I want you all to volunteer that I'm ready for my interview and I want to take your interview in that class every Thursday. So your mock interview will be on every Thursday. Okay, and don't worry about people listening to you or people taking your answers. It doesn't work that way. You will learn when you have like 5 people on the call. Your confidence level will go really, really high when you start talking to the actual interviewers.
So the user ID and login passcode will remain the same?
I'm going to put it same. I'm not going to change it for now.
Okay.
And whenever I change it, I'll let you know. So don't worry about that. But so next steps in my mind is digest all the information, but do not take more than a week or two to digest this information and start preparing for your interviews. and I'm going to not this week, but the Thursday from now. This Thursday we're going to talk about SQL, and next Thursday I'm going to share interview material with you all, and I'll tell you what exactly we have, what I have covered, and what do you want to look at. I'll give you more guidance on that. So before even you go for your resume, I want to take your mock interviews. Only after you do good in your mock interviews, you can actually create your resumes properly. Not before that. Now I'll be sharing a lot of sample resumes with you all, where you can know how to create the resumes, and I'll guide you on how to leverage your past experience and how to make your resume more suitable. Cool.
So in the meantime, if we have any questions, can we reach out to you
Yes.
regarding whatever we learned?
Mm-hmm. I would suggest to reach out to me via text first, if
Okay.
possible. And if I feel it's necessary to call you, I'll probably just call you. But like weekdays are super hectic for me. But I'll definitely make it a point to get back to you as soon as I can. That's just my working style. I cannot let any queries handling for longer than a day.
Got it.
But again, if you have any questions in your mind still that, hey, I don't know anything about IT, I can tell you, even a person who has 5 years of experience would not have this knowledge which you have. And I can put my my reputation at stake for this. I'm that confident, and because I know how it takes. And you may want to just go on YouTube and find some random videos and learn something more, but don't do that. You'll probably confuse yourself. This is a very specific training about very specific things that you want to do at your job. There is no theory here. This is exactly what is expected out of you. Or I can say 80%, I'm 80% accurate here. But 20% thing is, I don't know what your company looks like and what they're looking for. It's purely job focused training, right? So if you have still that worry that, hey, I don't have experience and I don't know enough about IT, I would request you to go through the videos again that we have covered in the class, as opposed to going on YouTube and finding something random, find some random videos and then confusing yourself. A lot of students do that. They do that for 2 to 3 months, and then they come back and tell me that, hey, I was going on all the YouTube videos. I think your class is really different than what I saw there, but they just literally wasted their 3 months. Hence, I'm saying, do not waste your time. Just show some faith in the class, the content that you have received in the class. Just prepare for this. I can bet you it will really help you clear your interviews and also help you sustain at your job. But I cannot stop you looking for more information, of course. You can, and you're more than welcome. But just make sure that you don't delay your time and you don't drag this bit after a week or two, because I really want to make sure that you guys are coming with interview, like you guys are coming up with your mock interviews now from a week or a week and a half from now. Cool. So that is the next step in my mind. Any questions? So SQL is this Thursday. Next week onwards, I'll be sharing interview material with you all, and we can do mock interviews here with everyone, and then finally we'll start the resume preparation. And then I'll have a call with individual person to help you with your resume and applying for job, because everyone's case is different. That will be a separate individual conversation.
So this Thursday is going to be a class on SQL,
Class on
SQL.
SQL.
How long will it be?
30-35 minutes, or more than that. It's basically, I'm just going to walk you through some basic coding that they're using. Nothing to worry about. Again, you're not going to do this. This is purely for your knowledge. Just to give you the confidence when someone asks about SQL in the interview, you're not shaken by that question.
And as usual, it's going to start at 8 p.m., right?
Yes. Thursday's class are always at 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. No other questions? If there are no other questions, I would like to use this 10 minutes and get some feedback on what you think I could have done differently to make you guys understand some concepts. any feedback that you guys have that you want to share with me that can help me improve, I'm more than happy to listen in that.
Okay, so maybe you could have given us reading material before class.
Reading material before class. Okay, that's a good takeaway.
And just told us, read it, don't try to understand it, but just go through it.
Yeah.
That gives you a head start.
I can do that. I had tried that before. I think I got this feedback like a few years ago. I started doing this and nobody was reading the document. Or it worked the other way around, where people started bugging me around like 5 in the evening and started asking me questions. But I believe for batch like yours, it's a pretty matured batch in terms of level of knowledge and the level of confidence that you guys have. You guys are really excellent students in my mind. And I definitely feel this would have helped you guys. So definitely a good takeaway. And thanks for bringing that, Amir.
I mean, you were wonderful. But sometimes we were behind. And that's not fault of yours because we didn't read up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Any prep material that is going to help you, that is always a good takeaway. So one good lesson for me. What else? What else?
I mean, everybody has a different kind of learning, set scale. For me, I'm more of a visual person. So if like the videos, so now that I'm just like having a hard time on that because I like to see things, visualize, and then I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing rather
Mhm.
than just mugging up stuff. And okay, it's something like, I don't know, that part is a little. So I know you told me that you told the entire class that you'd be, putting up all the videos back. So that's what,
Yes. So videos will be there for you. Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
I was also
Videos will
going
be
to,
available.
okay, yeah. Because I know you had mentioned not to go back, but it's just the way I have been coached.
No,
I mean,
it's
like,
fine. It's fine. The only
yeah.
reason I said not to go back is because I don't want you to spend 4 hours, like 40 hours of training or 40, 50 hours of whatever we covered in the class, right? I don't want you to spend additional 50 hours and start your job search after 3 months from now.
I understand. But
Yeah.
there is also a positive aspect in the videos, especially I'm not from an IT background, and the way you've, complemented it with giving real life examples, that
Mhm.
actually makes it so simple. While just reading the document, I'm like at times getting confused. Okay, what was the real thing that he had explained? So I'm
Mhm.
like, when the video is on and I have my documents with me, it makes so much better sense that, okay, this
Got
is,
it.
I go into each and every bit of what you were talking and real life examples and just join the dots together, and it's like much more easier.
That's interesting. So I think it's aligning with what Amir just said as well, like giving you material before the class. So when I'm saying something, you at least have the document open on your side as well. So I think that's an interesting feedback. Definitely, I can make that
Yes.
happen. Yep. And videos will be available to you guys. So guys, don't worry about that.
And I
Just give
really
me.
appreciate how you go step by step with
Mhm.
giving like small examples from anybody's real life, because I don't know about others, but I'm not from IT. So it's just like I can think about, that's like thinking out of the box and just saying, okay, can be in IT also. So it's just,
Okay. Cool.
that part
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate what you did for us.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to share anything?
Certainly, I do. I mean, I'm same way like Samveet and Amir and everybody else, no IT experience, but I take myself as an open mind and just go dive into it and try not to think about I don't have experience from anything. And it sounds like to me, it's not to me, I'm taking it as not IT, as just the process steps and management and
Yes,
skills.
that's it. It's a leadership role, right? Leadership role is always less performing and more of managing.
Yes, sir. And I remember the opening statement was that when you open up the first class on Saturday, you said the same thing. Hey, it's nothing about IT. Don't think that. Because if you
Yes,
guys keep thinking about IT, then you won't be able to comprehend anything what I'm saying.
exactly.
Just follow
Mhm.
as you are a leader and you're delegating people how to do it, when to do it, and what is the outcome should be.
Yep, exactly. Anything else that you guys want to share?
I
Okay, there's a
sent
comment.
question.
Go ahead.
it's in the chats.
I don't take away your accesses, guys. I am doing this for your success. So my intention is not, unless someone is not abusing my content, I really don't take away access, because I think some of these accesses you will still need when you will find your job, just to go back to some concepts and see things around. So as long as you guys keep me honest and videos have not been misused or being shared by with anyone else, I don't take away access like that, because I do get a record of who is viewing my videos and all those things, right? And if I see any suspicious activity going around that, that is the only thing that will demotivate me to promote this. I usually 3 months before, I was not sharing videos with anyone, because a lot of people tried copying the style of my class. So it's just my confidential things that I have, but I trust you guys, and I hope you do the favor to me as well in the same way.
Of course.
Definitely. I mean, your content is the basic things, because I've taken a couple of classes from others, from Tech Voice, and I was like disappointed. It's so confusing, So.
Yeah. So I think as long as you guys keep me honest there and do that favor, and being super sensitive about not sharing this information with anyone, because there are some confidential information that I've shared on the videos, which I would not like to get presented anywhere with anyone. But yeah, I think so. Don't worry about the videos and all. I think, but of course, I'm not letting you guys take like 1 year of time to prepare for your interview. I don't mind. Again, I'm not going to take your access away. What I'm trying to say is that try to do this as soon as possible. Try to make this as a priority if you're really looking for a job in this one. Try to get settled with all these things that we have covered in the class. Get more experience. Try to practice something on the side, but really start practicing for your interviews as soon as possible, so you can start applying. Because a lot of times, for people who have seen securing jobs versus people who have not secured the jobs, is that downtime. Once people take it easy for a month or two after the class is completed, that person is never coming back to me for job search. So that is, I've seen this, at least 50% of class members from my all previous classes, I've seen that they never come back to me. Although I send them message that, hey, how are you doing? But there is no response. So
Oh my God.
I think, sorry?
That's terrible.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. I think it happens because once you take 1 month, right? And now you start settling, like as a human, we start settling on things, right? Where we are, okay, I'm okay with this. Why to take this much stress? Why to take this much struggle? But without stress and struggle, there is nothing you could do in your life. So just keep up with that motivation, keep pushing yourself. And if there is anything I can help you with, I'll be more than happy to do that. But overall, I believe if you are really on this, I can guarantee you that you will definitely see a success in near future.
Okay, one question again. Sorry, I keep on asking stupid questions. If you were us, and how would you revise? What things would you prioritize to get ready?
That's what I said, right?
That's
I'll
a
go
good
through every single
question.
document. Everything that I've shared in the class document folder, I just go through those notes on daily basis.
Okay, so I'm just prioritizing. So BRD and writing stories on Azure would be the first priority, because that covers a lot of
Yes,
stuff.
BRD user stories is the first thing that covers a lot. Then types of analysis. So I think, let me open Teams and see if I can share that with you. Yesterday, I was not able to do that because my laptop was acting crazy. And luckily, I did not miss the recording of our class. And I think, just for your knowledge, yesterday's recording is already up on YouTube for you. So I seriously feel, guys, just go through this list and open the document simultaneously and just see if you are able to follow through these things or not. Just revise based on this. These are all jargons, right? Or the second way would be, you go to files, just go through each of this document, like in the order it is available or in the order it was uploaded, like by the modified date, older to newer. This is how we started the classes, and this is how I think you can probably just cover all the information here. That's another way if you want to look at it. But at a minimum, I would always have this BRD requirements checklist and BRD, BOPO or Scrum Master roles and responsibility. I want you guys to read these two presentations every day in the morning. First thing when you wake up from your after you have your breakfast and all, first thing you should do is read through these two PowerPoints. If I were you, I would do that. And one thing which is not here, which I'll advise you to be cautious about, is whenever you're using any mobile application now, right? Just take a pause. Hey, if I'm a BA for this page, how would I have written a requirement for this? What kind of scenarios can come up on this page? Whenever you're accessing any mobile application or website, start thinking like that. So you would be surprised in a month, you would know so much. Some of my students have done that, and I told you that they've come up with the WhatsApp for like 500 pages of user journey. And all it took them is like 2 hours of time to do that. So whatever apps you are going to use going forward, randomly just stop on any single page and see, hey, how would I come on this page? What happens after I go to the next page from here? What wrong things can happen on this page? Just try to be more observative around those points, and you will start seeing more, you'll start connecting with the things that we've covered in the class. Make sense? I think so that's all I would do if I were you. And I can tell you, when I prepared for my business analyst interview, what you are seeing here, I did not even have 5% of content like this. It took me 2 months to prepare my own interview and clear one, but I was able to do that. And I think with this, even I have more confidence than what I did for myself, because you guys have this material now, and it's just more practice and more hard work from here. Cool. And thank you for your feedback. I think definitely a good idea to share the material in advance, and that's a good takeaway for me. I wish, Amir, you would have brought up that earlier. I would have been completely fine to share that information earlier with you. No reason for me to hold that back.
I joined 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
So, any other closing comments that you guys have?
Amir, stop complaining, okay? And that's not an excuse now. You already have all the recording. Sorry, bro.
I work full-time, 12/7, 24/7.
Still not an excuse, sir. All of us work. Look at the James. He worked like 24 hours. You see, two in the morning, he's tasting the files and all those things. So he worked 24 hours.
That's the only time I get. So.
Plus, I don't have an IT background. Who gave you that wrong information?
And please do yourself a favor from now onwards. Do not use this word at all that I don't have IT knowledge. Because more you keep using that, more it will stop you from your dreams, achieving your dreams.
You made it so simple. I can dream now.
Yeah, and so I can tell you, I'm telling you for a fact that I've worked with people who have 25 years of experience, 30 years of experience. They do not even have 20% of this knowledge. So I think I don't know what else I could say to really make you feel that you don't know what you know right now. Yep. But yeah, so final closing comment, at least from my side. Thanks for attending these classes. Of course, every class it's not just I'm teaching, I'm also learning from you all. The kind of questions you ask me helps me tailor my course better. And it also helps me perform better at my office, because there are some questions that I think, hey, this is such a simple question. I should have asked this question to my manager sometimes. So it also helps me learn from you all when I'm coaching you. And this was a really great batch. A lot of coordination, a lot of collaboration. You all are excellent students, and I believe the only thing that is stopping you from your success right now is your hard work and practice. If you do that, if you do those two things and the things that we discussed right now, just like a few minutes before, I can tell you it is waiting for you. It is going to come to you pretty soon.
Thank you so much.
Right. And again, we'll keep talking every Thursday. What was it, Amir?
I said you've been a wonderful teacher and a wonderful person to work with.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. My pleasure. And with that being said, I think we'll continue talking every Thursday. But do start looking at things. I'm looking for some volunteers after a week and a half or so from now for the interviews, mock interviews, and we'll be doing this in the group call on every Thursday. If I have 2 names, I'm fine to extend that session for an hour. That's fine too. But let's make it a point every Thursday. After a week from now, we'll start having interview sessions. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and effort, sir.
Yeah,
It was
no
excellent
worries.
class. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.